Welcome to a new day on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for your company here. It still is Ghana month and we're rocking everything Ghana right here on the show. In faraway Tunisia, many things happening, are they African or not? But here we know fully well who we are. Thank you for making the time to join us this morning. Now, presently, I'll be serving you the news, but right after that, we'll be joined by energy analyst Kojo Poku, who is our guest for the news review. Then we get into our big stories this morning and some topical matters we'll be looking at today. We'll discuss what's been happening in Parliament. Now, there's still a row over the Electoral Commission's decision to make the Ghana card the sole requirement to get a voter's ID. Now, the minority in Parliament says they do not trust the assurances made by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to release funds to clear debts owed by the National Identification Authority. Would be interacting with some members of Parliament on that beat. On the floor of Parliament, they've been vociferous. But when they're here, what are they going to be sharing with us? Look forward to that one. Again, on the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly is on a mission to get households to build toilets as part of their plans for a building. That has been the law. That has been the principle, but it is not happening. How will this work out? What is the plan of the Accra Metro? We'll be joined by Florence Kuchi on that beat. She's Director of Public Health at the AMA. And then we'd also be spending some time on the Tema motorway. That place, some have said, has become a death trap, but today we'd be checking how some trucks parked around the toll booths are endangering the lives of other road users. The toll booths are there. Some have said they should be taken off, but now these trucks are parking alongside them. What dangers do they pose? Well, we'll be taking a swipe at that. Later, we offer you the opportunity of sharing your thoughts with us right here on the AM show. You know why? Because the show is all about you. Once more, thank you for your company. Stay with us. Up next, we serve you the news. Thank you for your company. Let's settle for the first story. And President Akufo-Addo has, in the last 24 hours, been meeting representatives of the diplomatic community in Ghana, and he did not mince words asking for their help with Chinese negotiations. He, however, failed to address the key conditions the German ambassador laid out, including a reduction in government expenditure.
We acknowledge the reality of the fact that our economy is in considerable difficulty. The budget drawn for the 2022 fiscal year was thrown out of gear, disrupting our balance of payments and debt sustainability, and further exposing the structural weaknesses of our economy. We have gone to the International Monetary Fund to repair in the short term our public finances and restore our balance of payments, while we continue to work on the medium to long-term structural changes that are at the heart of our goal of constructing a resilient, robust Ghanaian economy and building a Ghana beyond aid. Just as we managed to achieve a staff-level agreement with the fund in record time in December last year, whose terms we are systematically fulfilling, including the difficult but ultimately highly successful process of the domestic debt exchange program. I'm confident that with the cooperation we are receiving from members of the Paris Club and the People's Republic of China, which has sent a delegation from China's Exim Bank to Accra over the weekend to meet with officials of the Ministry of Finance, we shall be able to go to the board of the fund to conclude finally the agreement by the end of March. This will set the stage for the strong recovery of Ghana's economy. Needless to say, we would hope that all Ghana's friends would weigh in with words of support at the fund.
Well, the Lands Commission says it has handed over management of its software system to a private firm following manipulation by some employees, which resulted in an estimated theft of 100 million Ghana cedis. 16 of the 21-member gang fingered for theft are employees of the commission and have already been slapped with charges of stealing and money laundering at an Accra High Court. Joseph Akakpo now reports.
16 of the 21-member gang have been arraigned while 5 others are on the run. 10 of the 16 employees of the Lands Commission have been interdicted, while a decision is yet to be taken on the remaining 6. They are alleged to have manipulated a system enabling them to show proof of payment of stamp duties and other charges while keeping the checks for themselves. James Dodson is Executive Secretary of the Lands Commission.
We believe that the courts will deal with this matter and come to the expected conclusions. We, on our part, as our part of the Commission's processes in situations like this, when it gets to the point where we have sufficient information to place a staff on interdiction, we do that. And that is the point where we've gotten to at the moment. Thank you. Not all of them, it's a process. So once we've dealt with a particular case, and it merits interdiction, we will effect that accordingly. And so currently not all of them are on interdiction.
Are you able to put a number out of the 16? How many have been interdicted?
We are at 10. Yes. But the others are also, as I said, even the investigations are still ongoing.
Deputy Executive Secretary Jones Ofoibuedu says the system has been handed over to a private firm to manage it in the interim.
The software, I must say that we developed that software in-house. The Enterprise Land Information System was developed in-house, and we've used it, in our processes, and it's been quite effective. Now, what we've done after we discovered this is to move that platform to a firm, to move the management of the platform to a firm to manage it for us. So that would help us to safeguard, some of these more practices. But that is in the interim. In the long term, what we intend to do as part of the land reform project that we're doing at the Lands Commission is to change the entire software. Currently, we're operating on an open source software platform, but we want to move it to a proprietary software platform when we start the land reform project. So that is in the long term. But in the interim, we've moved the platform to a firm who is managing it for us now. So it's not the in-house team that is managing it anymore.
The Commission is meanwhile yet to decide whether to interdict the remaining 6 of its employees as internal investigations continue.
Well, on now to our next story, and the Electoral Commission is working with the Office of the Attorney General to develop a new constitutional instrument that will create a constituency for the people of Santo Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lologbe in the Oti region to vote in the 2024 parliamentary election. The Electoral Commission, in a release issued on the eve of the 2020 elections, excluded SAL from the processes. Now, although voters in the SAL traditional areas were allowed to vote in the Buem constituency for the presidential elections, they were directed by the EC not to participate in the parliamentary elections. Deputy Chairman of the EC, Dr. Bosman Asari, says the process is underway to create a new constituency for SAL.
The reason why they didn't vote for a member of parliament, the LI that created the district, it passed the parliament somewhere 2020, November 9th.
Okay.
So when the EC got the notification, it wasn't possible for the EC to lay a CI to create a constituency. So I've been hearing people blaming the EC for why they don't have a member of parliament. The EC has nothing to do with that. So when the parliament passed the LI, creating the district, in about a week or so, the parliament even went on recess for the 2020 elections. So the EC had no hand in why they didn't have a constituency.
So it was not an oversight?
It wasn't an oversight.
You didn't deliberately seek to
when you say deliberately, maybe we knew about it. The question must go to Parliament. The time they passed the LI, creating that particular district. So the EC, and as we speak now, the EC is working with the AG's office to have a CI creating that particular constituency.
But the AG believes that they should be voting at Buem rather.
You know, per our law, once a district is created, when you look at the law very well, a district can have 2 MPs. A district can have 2 members of parliament. Like a place like, Cape Coast, the Cape Coast Metro. The Metro has 2 members of parliament. But a constituency cannot be in 2 districts. An MP cannot represent 2 districts. So when you say they should vote at Buem, that means the MP for Buem will also be representing, will be the same person representing the people of the Guan district.
Okay.
So that's not possible.
Now, is this, this interpretation, there is the view that what really should happen is that Article 47(2) provides that a constituency must not fall within more than 1 region. It has nothing to do with the district.
It has nothing to do with the district, but I know the local government law. The local government law also says that 1 MP cannot represent 2 districts. So although that one is more or less like not the parent law, it's still a law we are working with. So we at the Commission believe that their constituency should be created so that in 2024 they will also vote for their member of parliament.
Okay, I get your point. So will we create it before the 2024
no, it will be created before. The processes are
when should they expect it?
The processes,
because people are losing their boots. People want to know whether they can contest those seats.
No, the processes have begun.
So, for example, if I'm an NDC person seeking, among other things, to go to Parliament on the ticket of SAL, can I start?
I'm surprised you are not using CPP or PPP.
No, I'm talking about the ones who have opened their nominations now.
Okay,
because the NDC have done so.
Yes.
Can I go and pick a form and file to actually constitute? Because there's no constituency.
The processes are ongoing, and we expect to have a meeting with the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament. Once that meeting is had, then certainly the CI will be laid.
This year?
Yeah. The processes have begun.
Okay.
In our next story, Love News investigations have revealed recent footage of River Ankobra regaining its ecological integrity is a mirage, as Shangfan operators mine directly on the riverbed at various sections close to Axim and Prestia Heman in the western region. It was found that recent green pictures taken by government officials at the Ankobra estuary are a momentary phenomenon of the sea pushing back the river at high tide. The major water source has turned thick and murky at the Prestia Heman source and polluted along the Axim Trail to the estuary. But how did a momentary high tide from the sea become the cover story of a highly polluted river? The Ghana Environmental Advocacy Group, an NGO, and the multimedia group sent Erastus Asaridonko on a fact-finding mission.
Rising northeast of Sefioso in the western north region, the river Ankobra flows about 190 kilometers south to the Gulf of Guinea. About 2 weeks ago, pictures of a green-looking river Ankobra taken at the Sangoma estuary in Axim took over social media. The taglines indicated government's illegal mining fight was gaining ground with the clearing of the river. We set out on a fact-finding mission on the flow path of the Ankobra. After hours on the road, we hit the coastal town of Axim. We proceeded to Sangoma or Ankobra town, where the river meets the sea. This is where pictures of the green Ankobra were taken. Instead of a green-looking river, we saw a dirty-looking Ankobra polluting the green sea. Residents here share how they feel about assertions that the Ankobra has regained its former glory.
Why is it that they are saying something which is untruthful to the nation, to the public? Because they should have told the public the truth that the river is totally bad, but it is because of the high tide of the sea that is coming through the river water. So that one looks a little bit clear, and they took that picture. So I feel very bad.
Green out to March. April, May. Next to from yellow one abba. Next year from January, February, March. Still so yellow no. I
am sitting in the middle of two great water bodies. To my left is the sea, and to my right is the river Ankobra. Behind me is the estuary. This is where the two meet. Now there is this confusion over whether the Ankobra is clearing and it is green, and we've seen some green videos of the Ankobra right from this point. Those pictures were taken. Now let me explain to you. At high tide, the sea here, which is green, washes over. All this place gets flowing with seawater, and it washes over the Ankobra to that end. The sea is green. The river Ankobra is yellowish now. It covers it. The whole place is green. Beautiful, isn't it? That is what we expect the river Ankobra to look like. Unfortunately, it doesn't look that way. This is the real color of the Ankobra as we speak. Polluted right from the source. It ends this controversy. But if anybody is serious about this, this is a serious pollution matter. Because as you look at the estuary, even close to the sea, you can see the color of the sea from this point right up there, as far as the drone can see, turning yellow in the color of the Ankobra. Until we see a high tide, which they say is 2 hours away, which will wash the sea green water over the Ankobra, the situation is a highly polluted Ankobra, which is now polluting the sea.
Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaredonko, Ankobra, Western Region.
Now, District Chief Executive of Esutifi North, Anthony Mensah, says the Assembly is strengthening its bylaws to improve sanitation in the communities. The district has also put in measures to prosecute offenders of the sanitation bylaws. Speaking during the maiden cleanup exercise initiated by staff of the Assembly and supported by other state organizations, Mr. Mensah appealed to the residents to embrace the need to keep their surroundings clean. Precious Sebevo has more.
According to the Esutifi North District Assembly, they are practicing the ANAM initiative, which means Esutifi North Ahunidie Mpuntuo, to weight water, sanitation and hygienic development in the district. After achieving about 89% of water coverage in the district, the target now is to improve sanitation in the communities. And to achieve that, the Assembly staff with other stakeholders has set aside the last Tuesday of every month to embark on a cleanup exercise with a maiden edition for February at Kenyasi 1 and 2. Anthony Mensah is the district chief executive.
Looking at the whole thing, we could see that with regards to water, the district is doing very well. So as part of our strategies to deal with the sanitation aspect, we as an assembly has decided to use this year, we'll embark on sanitation activities. The assembly will lead to help in making sure that we get proper sanitation in Esutifi North, especially the district capital and then the other communities like Ntotroso, Jetu, and Wamahinso.
Some residents looked unconcerned during the exercise, but Mr. Mensah said the Assembly is strengthening its sanitation bylaws and offenders would face the laws.
We have a bylaw that governs the Assembly with regards to sanitation. And so we are going to strengthen our bylaws, making sure that everybody abides by the bylaw. One aspect that I have to stress is, the shop owners, because in front of their shops, those areas are the places that we see the filthy in the gutters and other things. So we are going to make sure that they take charge. They become responsible for whatever that happens in their shops. And then the sanitation department of our assembly will also be strengthened for them to also take charge of that. We are trying to also have a word with a judge here that cases of such nature will be sent to them. So when they come, they should try and also make sure that they follow what is in the bylaw for us to be able to allow people to understand why we want to ensure proper sanitation.
Stephen Barr, an assembly member for the Menchiabi electoral area, anticipates an increase in residents' participation in the future.
Basis, and it's going to help us. It's true that the assembly staff and other institutional staff are being taken part. This is the first time, so starting something afresh is something that you get all the people being involved. As time goes on, I think all of them will come on board so that we do the cleanup exercise.
Apesimankahene of Kenya State No. 1 Traditional Council, Nana Kwame Yeboah Suama, said they will offer support to sustain the initiative and appealed to the residents to join them.
The owners actually rested on the traditional council to make this move, but they couldn't yield the needed dividends. But now that the assembly has come in, I think we'll go all out to ensure that community members actually embrace the idea and participate. Well, we as members of the council are ready to participate at the end of every month. So just let our people understand that if we are playing that lead role, they actually support us to make Kenya a better place to live.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, Kenya.
And on that note of cleanliness, we wrap the AM News. But stay with us in the next few minutes. We bring you the news review with energy analyst Kojo Poku. Stay. Here we are, time now for the news review, and we're grateful that you stayed with us. I have a stack of papers. I'll be getting through them shortly. But what do you make, just to kickstart the conversation this morning, what do you make of the president's calling on entities, countries friendly to Ghana to, sort of put in a good word for us with the Chinese and with the other partners that we're going to be seeking some debt relief from? It's interesting because yesterday when I was interacting with Professor Bokpin of the University of Ghana Business School, he said Ghana, just pay attention to his description, for those of you who missed the conversation, that Ghana was like a spoiled child, a spoiled brat, if you like, that needed to be disciplined in order to be responsible, that we're constantly spending beyond our means, not cutting our coat according to our cloth, and every time would end up like this. And an interesting point was made. I spoke to the likes of Dr. Saad Idrisu, Leslie of the IES, among other institutions. And they made mention of the fact that, look, Ghana seems to follow a certain trajectory. When the IMF comes in, the Bretton Woods institutions, we're able to tailor certain things like we ought to. Once we're done with the program, we go back to wanton spending, profligate spending. And a lot of it, with nothing to show. Look at our housing projects. Look at them. Look at our road construction. A lot of them mired in a lot of stupidity. And who loses in the end? The ordinary taxpayer. These people at the helm of affairs, look at their salaries, look at their perks. They don't face the same consequences we face. When you look at all these dynamics, it gets really painful. I mean, you may have followed that piece put together by my colleague Fentuo Tahiru Fentuo on some of these entities, sporting entities, that we spent about $20 million on, saying we're going to put them together in all of these regions. And now a lot of them are just gathering dust, overgrown with weeds. No one can play soccer there. And some of them even bear names of prominent people like Azuma Nelson. And this is how we salute the heroes in our country and the heroines. You see why some people say that it is not worth it to put your life on the line for Mother Ghana. But some of us will continue doing that because at some point there must be a revolution, a mindset revolution. There must be a change at some point. And if not them, if not those leading, those who have led and those who are leading now, then who? Us. It behoves us to do that, to bring to bear that renewed mindset. The Singaporeans at a point were living just as we do. And it took Lee Kuan Yew to come in and institute certain measures. And that renewed thinking passed on from that generation that had been living differently to a new generation that came to meet only that. That is how they developed in 3 decades. We really need to think about our mindset, how we approach so many things in Ghana. But the one thing I want to leave all of us with, and I was posing this question to some of my colleagues yesterday, what does Ghana stand for? What does it mean to be Ghanaian? If you have any thoughts, share with me. Because honestly, if you go to China, they have a certain mindset. We are the world's marketplace. We are the world's production factory. We stand for this, we stand for that. And yes, propaganda, just as you would find in Cuba, but which country doesn't engage in a bit of that? They have a certain mindset. You must get something going, get something done. The United States, it's a melting pot of so many cultures, so many peoples. They are the land of dreams. That's how they've couched to themselves. You can come here and fulfill your dreams. Dare to dream, like the Lupita Nyong'os and others, in Hollywood. Dare to dream. Come here. We're a place that if you have the right skills, if you're willing to work hard, will give you the opportunities. Many countries have that. What do we stand for as Ghanaians? What are our values? When you think of Ghana or the Ghanaian, what should come to mind? Nothing comes to mind. Absolutely nothing. Which is why I feel Independence Day celebrations should be scrapped, thrown into the dustbin. Let's spend that money on more important things, things that will impact ordinary Ghanaians. Health, roads, education. We have so many schools under trees, so many schools without desks. Children have to carry desks, sometimes kilometers in and out. We want to spend money on what? Independence Day celebrations. Let me not turn this into blunt thoughts. Let's get into the papers. So the Daily Graphic, right before we are joined by Kojo Poku, who will be joining me to review the papers. Daily Graphic will conclude IMF deal this month. President Akufo-Addo assures. There's also Operation Clean Your Frontage hits Tema. And then 12 cybercrime suspects nabbed. They created 973 fake online accounts of prominent persons, and they've been nabbed. Goldfields Ghana builds dormitory for Huni Valley SHS, and then minority rejects Ghana card as sole document for voter registration. All those stories there. Also, the Daily Graphic tomorrow will be profiling Commander Edina Egwafo Ebrim, the KEEA constituency. Let's get into some of those stories now, and starting with that banner headline. A special intelligence-led operation has resulted in the arrest of 12 suspected criminals or cyber criminals, including a woman from various areas, the Ghana Police Service has said. The suspects are said to be behind the setting up of fake social media accounts in the name of prominent personalities and organizations in Ghana. The police gave the names of the suspects to include Gideon Kove, alias Billions, Felicia Nanewoto, Carl Crystal, Safari Zate, Eric Aqua, alias Saint Mona, and Richard Agbaji. The rest are Isaac Dochu, alias Baraja, Samuel Gadri, Moses Ochi, alias Razak, Yona Bosso, Sterling Kwame Doe, and Wisdom Tonye. Now, some of the accounts fictitiously created have the profiles of members of parliament, government institutions, and corporate entities which they use to swindle unsuspecting persons. The police have so far confirmed 973 fake social media accounts linked to the criminals who are said to have defrauded their victims of various sums of money after promising them employment and scholarships. Now, police investigations also found out they also published fake promotional advertisements and sales of products, among others. And the police said intelligence they had gathered indicated that the modus operandi of the criminal syndicate included hacking into or impersonating the social media accounts of prominent persons or organizations which they used to perpetrate their illegal activities. I've also noticed a trend, especially in the papers nowadays. Instead of perpetrate, we keep writing perpetuate. The two mean totally different things. So, editor, I know the Daily Graphic has a new editor. Let's stop using perpetuate, which means to keep something for a long time, keep it going, and perpetrate, which means to commit, more like commit an act. We hear it everywhere. You let me leave it there because, anyway. So that is the story, 12 cybercrime suspects nabbed. Then there's also, we'll conclude IMF deal this month, President Akufo-Addo says. Story on pages 22 and 27. It's continued from there. Let me just get to that. And President Akufo-Addo has expressed optimism that the country will conclude an agreement with the International Monetary Fund by the close of this month in view of the cooperation being received by the Paris Club and China over debt relief. He said a delegation from China Exim Bank was in Accra at the weekend to meet with officials of the Ministry of Finance, adding, quote, "We shall be able to go to the board of the fund to conclude a final agreement by the end of March." According to the president, the agreement would set the stage for a strong recovery of the economy. 2 points I want to make. Mr. President, you say it will set a stage for the strong recovery of the economy. We all know the IMF deal. When we get it, we'll just stabilize our economy to a certain extent in terms of our debt obligations and a few other matters. To say that it would set the stage for a strong recovery of the economy would be a bit, what's the apt word to use? I don't want to say deceptive, but not guaranteed. Unguaranteed, let me just put it that way, because it will be based on our own actions in terms of managing our finances, our economic dynamics as a country. The IMF deal does not guarantee anything. It does not guarantee that we're going to recover in terms of our economy. It's only a little stepping stone to set us on a correct path. So, Mr. President, let's watch our words, because as I spoke to the economists yesterday, they kept asking us, why do we keep setting these timelines for ourselves? And then we go beyond, and then we have to come and explain ourselves. Why go by this, by end of March and all of that? You may have your guarantees, but why not wait till all is said and done? We know, for example, that the 1.7 billion we owe China, that's our biggest bilateral lender. We owe some of our other debtors in the G7, the G8, 1.9 billion. We do not know exactly what even those entities, friendly entities, are going to give us in full terms. We don't know that. I can guarantee we don't know that. So when it comes to these, especially when our engagements with the Chinese, you still are begging other entities to beg, plead for us on behalf, on our behalf with the Chinese. And especially when I do agree, some economists have proffered that we can still go ahead with this external debt situation and get an IMF deal without China coming on board. But that would make things extremely difficult for us. So why, Mr. President? I'm just proffering. Why not stay away from the timelines and just let what will happen, happen? And then we can, come out and say, yes, now we're in good territory, we've done it, and this is the way forward. Less promise, more action. That's my counsel, whether you find it stupid or otherwise, to you, Mr. President. I wish you a good morning. Anyway, so that's it with the IMF deal. Kojo Poku, energy analyst, joins us this morning for that conversation. I don't know, Kojo, whether you caught my earlier rant, unplanned, about so many situations in our country, Ghana, about what we stand for. I don't think we have any values. I don't think we have any mindset that is uniquely Ghanaian. What do we stand for as Ghanaians? What are our values? I compare us to
good morning,
other
Ben.
countries.
How are you?
I am well. Are you now hearing me? I've been saying
yes,
quite a lot.
Yes, I can hear you. Ben, no, I heard quite a lot of the things you said. You know, this thing about this IMF thing that you talked of, I mean, I'm 100% in agreement with you. And I have also said on certain stage that we came up and said that we've negotiated with IMF in record time. What happened was that we were told by IMF in what to do in record time. There was no negotiation. Okay,
right.
Because I don't see what we negotiated. We were told by IMF that for me to give you a loan or for me to give you this program, you have to go and do this and do that and do this. And we said, yes, Amasa, took the notes and we went off to implement it. Okay, because if we did negotiate, we would have been able to tell the IMF that, I'm sorry, this number will be difficult for me to achieve in Ghana. This will be difficult for me to do here. Can we do this instead? Can we not do that instead? Okay, that is a negotiation. Now, how easy did Ken Oforiatta think that to go to China and tell China to forgive your debt or restructure a debt? It's very difficult for countries to do that, especially when we don't have a very good relationship with China. Okay, China relationship was a one-way relationship. They get what they want from you and they give you what you want. If they don't get what they want from you, they don't give you what you want. From the time that we sent out their citizens for the Galamsey issue, all the China relationship and all the multi-things China was doing for us has diminished, okay? Because now, I don't remember the last time anybody has talked of a facility from China. This was something that was very abundant 4 or 5 years ago because everything you tried to do, there was a facility from China or somebody from China trying to go through Sinoshore to get it done. So it's unfortunate that we find ourselves where we are. And back to the point that you made, I have said on your program that going to IMF is like having a diarrhea and basically taking Imodium, okay? So it only stops the diarrhea. It doesn't cure what caused the diarrhea. You might have an infection, so what you need is antibiotics. We have said time and time again that, look, the small austerity announced by the finance minister don't go far enough, okay? There are multiple things that needs to be done. And the German chancellor or the chairman ambassador recently reiterated some of the things that some of us have been saying.
Right.
That cut down on a lot of the things before you go for debt forgiveness, okay? Because you can't expect to do the things that you're doing as business as usual. And everybody thinks it's business as usual. It's not. It's very unfortunate that we are running the government as if it's business as usual. It's not. And it's painful because everybody is making noise that, we are out of the woods. People make noise about, people are, and what is ahead of us is more dire than what is behind us. And nobody seems to think of that.
Well, Kojo, what can the NTR? So I will need to. If you keep saying it and no one listens.
At 20 and a man, one machikopo.
Sapepepe. We're speaking in Proverbs right now. Pardon us. Pay no mind to us. Anyway, that's it on the president's promise about securing an IMF deal this month. Operation Clean Your Frontage hits Tema. Let's quickly go to page 16 for that story. Let's get there. Here we are. So the Operation Clean Your Frontage campaign under the Greater Accra Must Work agenda is being extended to the Tema metropolis beginning today. The regional minister, Henry Quartey, who announced this in Tema yesterday, said the campaign would begin with a massive cleanup exercise in Tema and would continue to Saturday with a mopping up on Sunday. Now, addressing metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives and assembly members from the 27 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies in Tema ahead of the 3-day cleanup exercise, Mr. Quartey stressed that a clean environment remained one of the top priorities of the Regional Coordinating Council. I'll put the simple question to you. How clean do you find Accra, especially when the promise was made? And I'll keep going back to it because if you don't mean it, don't promise it. But when you promise it, some of us will keep reminding you ad infinitum, ad nauseum, till you get irritated. We don't care because no one forced you to say it. Accra, cleaner city. We're nowhere near that after 6 years. I don't know whether the promise, and to be fair, I don't know whether the promise was made right from the start, because I think it was somewhere into the tenure. So let's say after a number of years. But just to link it, we have a hotline documentary, A Sea of Plastic, that we've put out in recent times. If you see the pollution, plastic pollution, and the rains are coming. Kojopoku.
Well, look, I have always said, and one of the key message for my presidential ambition campaign is that I want to make metropolis, MMDCs, local government, the foundation of my development. Look, the president said, yes, he wants Accra to be the cleanest city, but the president is not the one to implement that. It's the MMDCs to implement that. Now, if you have metropolis and district and municipal assembly people who just do not do their work, okay? That's what we have. What does it take to clean? What does it take to make sure, look, the assemblies have all the powers to put penalties, to put bylaws, to put everything you want. In the past, there was something called Lampo. Okay, yeah. Now, yes, every household was scared of Lampo. Yeah. Because when the tankers, which was the town councillor, comes around and he finds any dirt in your gutter in front, in the house or whatever, they surcharge you with Lampo. And you will have to pay. Even those days when development was not that much, they will come and give you Lampo. Today, what are the penalties for the assembly coming around and finding that your frontal is not clean, or your frontal is dirty, or the gutter in front of your house is choked with plastics? What's the surcharge? What's the bylaws? So the problem is not what the president says. The problem is the municipal assemblies. Mostly is basically square pegs in round holes. They just sit there and say, oh, there's no money from common funds.
But a sign, I agree with you, but a sign of leadership, when you say something concrete like that and you reiterate it and you keep talking about it. We've heard the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources talk about it and the sums of money to be committed and all of that. Then your credibility is on the line and you have to ensure that those who mean to or who have to execute do so, right? That's leadership.
I agree, yes. No, so the charge is from the front. I agree. But the most important thing is that as a municipality, as a metropolis, as a district, your sanitation is one area, the environment is one area. Because the departments you have within, one of the key departments is to look at sanitation. Okay, the collection of garbage, the making sure the environment is clean, the clean of gutters, and fixing other things within the metro. So, but look, the point I'm making is that to be able to develop and make sure that these things stay on course, the local government is key, is the fundamental. There's no negotiation. We only have local government in name. Okay. Right. The input, what local government needs to achieve, it's not being achieved. And we just basically over and over keep taking people there and they coming out, all they want to do is, oh, there's no common fund. The common fund is delayed. You have IGFs that you don't implement. You have all the bylaws you can implement to take people. In Accra being a city that it is, if people don't keep their frontal clean, let's say it's 100 cities, your people go around and collect the property rate they are supposed to collect, and also surcharge people for dirty frontal. So for you to do once a while campaign like this is applaudable. But then going forward, what stops the debt from coming back? Yeah, that is the key.
Yeah, you clean it, and in a week's time, it's back to like situation normal. So what exactly have you achieved?
In 2 days, it's back.
Yeah. Let's wrap with the Daily Graphic on these two stories. So amending 1992 Constitution, not enough. Let's focus on new mindset, national values. And this is part of what I've been saying. The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Wusu, says changing aspects of the 1992 Constitution will not be sufficient to address democratic challenges or achieve the good governance expected. He opines that the emphasis should rather be on changing the orientation of Ghanaians and building new national values. According to him, the country should focus on developing a new mindset that makes people take responsibility, be accountable, honest, and law-abiding. I couldn't agree with him more. He also says, the fine prints of the Constitution may have defects. We can change them. But that alone is not sufficient. I think we should put more emphasis on changing our orientation, building new national values, and selling them to children as they grow up. You see, I hadn't even seen the story, but this reflects exactly what the Singaporeans did, so that the generation that came after them had a very different mindset, and we see them and we salute them and we laud them today. But we are still eons behind. Let me just add the story for you to react to the two together. Minority rejects Ghana card as sole document for voter registration, and the minority in Parliament is standing its ground on rejecting the Ghana card as the sole document for the registration of voters onto Ghana's electoral roll. It said it was untenable for the EC to eliminate the use of the guarantor system as a source of eligibility to be registered as a voter. At a press conference in Parliament House yesterday, Wednesday, to react to the presentation by the Electoral Commissioner, or the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, let's put it that way, Jean Mensah, on the decision by the EC to make the Ghana card the sole base document for the registration of voters, the minority leader, Dr. Kasialato Forson, said the exercise would rather disenfranchise the vast majority of Ghanaians. Now, a lot of figures have been bandied out there in terms of registration, in terms of those who have not been able to register, in the millions, others whose processes have been frustrated. Then we heard that the authority itself owed $117 million. About 100 million Ghana cedis, which is a drop in the bucket, by the way, has been provided in that regard. 80 million, per what Ken Foyata said, and 20 million just about 2 days ago. What's your take on the stance of the minority and the debt owed by the NIA?
Well, let me do the first story. Look, I think that the change of the constitution and the orientation of the Ghanaians should go in parallel. You cannot do one and leave the other. Look, there is a momentum. We need to start afresh. So if we need to do orientation, yes, but the orientation can also be included in the constitution. That there are these principles that as a nation, not before every morning, even if you go to the cinema back in the day, before the cinema starts, they play the national anthem. Okay? So we can put certain, you see, the orientation that we need is that we need patriotism. We need Ghana first agenda. People don't put Ghana first. The individualistic approach in this country is too much. So,
but I ask you, Kojo, how will you put your country first when you see your leaders themselves putting the country last?
That's the point. So who become leaders, though? Who become leaders? Being that you're talking to me today, I want to be a leader. So let's say in 2024, I'm the leader. I was Kojo Poku one day, the next day I'm a leader. So if I'm not oriented, then what happens?
Right.
So it's the ordinary people that become leaders. So orient everybody. There isn't a group of people that become leaders that is okay, let's go and orient them when they become. No. Today there are people walking around. Ben could be an MP tomorrow. To the next day you could be a minister. So let's change the constitution, which is key. But the orientation of the Ghanaians should go in parallel. But you see, the momentum that it will create is that we have had a new order. The constitution is changed. From this day onwards, constitution requires that we do these things in parallel with change of constitution. So we create a new momentum. Now, let's go to the
Ghana card minority issue.
Ghana card. Look, I think that as a nation, we make too much excuses for our own political good. The Jane Mensah, when he was in Parliament, I listened to a little bit of it. She said that those that already have voting cards will keep their voting cards.
Right. In fact, she says the Ghana card is not going to be used to vote, contrary to what some people have thought.
Exactly. The Ghana card is not what's going to be used at the polling station. The Ghana card is what will be used for you to get your voter's ID card. Okay? So we are going to have the existing voter register. The new people that want to come on board need to acquire, okay, a voter ID card, a Ghana card, before they can go and get a voter ID card.
And that's where the devil is.
I'm hearing that. Say it again.
And that's where the devil is.
No, there is no devil. The guarantor situation is the devil. The guarantor, why, in what country do somebody has to go and guarantee for somebody? We've done that in the past. Today, if somebody feels they don't have a Ghana card and they have to take a card to the district office to do that, let them do that. We keep hearing politicians say that, oh, people live far, they can't do this. People live far, don't we travel all the time? Were there not people in Sevi also traveling to Takrady as their capital? Wasn't it take the MPP to come and change that? When now Sevi also, and then if you live in Awin or you live in Bodi, you cannot just go to Sevi also as your capital. During their tenure, were they not allowing people to travel from Bodi or Bia all the way to Takrady as capital? So what are they talking about? It took the MPP government to come and change these things. So it's not that they mean any better. If somebody today knows that they want to vote and they want a voter ID, voting is a civil commitment that everybody has to take part of. But don't sit there.
Hello, Kojo.
And wait till when it's voters' time. Hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, don't sit there and try to, when it's time to vote, and you now say that, oh, I need to go and get voters ID. That's what a lot of people do. It's like when we're doing the SIM registration. The minute the time is extended, the MTN queues are empty. The day is the deadline, MTN is full. Ghanaians like to sit back because politicians will come to their aid and get buses for them to take them. Why does a politician have to go and get buses for people who is their civil duty to go and get a card? We should stop these things. Okay? So there is ongoing registration. The ongoing registration says that if you want your voter's ID, you should get a Ghana card. If you sit and you are of voter's age and you don't have a Ghana card, you should take the necessary steps to go to the district or capital or wherever it is to get your Ghana card. Why is that a problem? For me, I think the guarantor system should be stopped. Why do we still in 2023 need to bring somebody to say that, oh, I live with him, then you bring 3 people to guarantee for you because you don't have any ID? In which country does that happen? Somebody who is Ghanaian should at least have some level of documentation. We should stop the guarantor system. We've entertained that too much.
Let's get into some stories very quickly from the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Lassa fever cases hit 14. 1 death recorded. GHS cautions public to avoid contact with rats and mice. I'll be getting into that story on page 11. Ghana card as sole ID for voter registration. Minority rejects EC's proposed CI. That's the story we were just talking about. Cocobot financial loss trial. Judge refers case to CJ, and West Africa needs political commitment to roll out single currency. That's according to Get Thick. Well, I would also start from here very quickly. Bola Tinubu, or if you like, Bola Tinubu, 70, wins Nigeria's presidential election, appeals for peace and unity. It's the lowest we've seen in a number of, should I say, decades by performance in terms of the voter turnout. Some 27%, one of the lowest we've ever seen. What does that point to? Apathy among Nigerians? In some cases, though, I was listening to a reporter from Nigeria on the BBC talking about the fact that in some areas it was a record turnout, but by and large, if you look at the population and those who voted, 27%. I guess it's beginning to happen across Africa, and for me, it points to some apathy in terms of failed leadership, failing leadership, and the lack of optimism among voters to go and queue and vote for people who will not deliver anyway. That's the first bit I'll point to. But then there's also health alert. Lassa fever cases hit 14. A total of 12 additional cases of Lassa fever have been confirmed, bringing the total number of cases in the country to 14. According to the Ghana Health Service, apart from 1 death recorded, all 13 cases are alive, in stable condition, and are being managed in designated health facilities. A total of 97 contacts have been identified, and efforts are underway to identify more contacts. A probable case has been reported from the central region, and contacts are being identified and monitored while we await confirmation. That's according to the Ghana Health Service. I'll wrap with this one. End discrimination against persons living with HIV and AIDS. That is according to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, which has reiterated calls to bring an end to discrimination against persons living with HIV and AIDS. Your reflections? Lassa fever, Nigeria. Any thoughts?
Yeah, let me do the CJ one. Very important. Look, the Oponi case has taken 7 years, and I don't see why. Oh, sorry, 6 years. I don't see why any case in court should take that long. It's amazing. That's a trial, a criminal trial that either somebody is either guilty or not guilty. It's taken 6 good years. That's absurd. And now it's not even done. It's been referred back to the Chief Justice because people are playing politics with the trial. If you really want to convict somebody, it shouldn't take 6 years.
Right.
Now, let me go to Nigeria. I think
we have just about...
is not as good as we all thought it was going to be.
Kojo,
I think people talk about voter suppression. Say it again.
If you can hear me, we have just about some 4 or 5 minutes, so let's squeeze in as much as possible. Over to you.
Well, that's fine. Yeah. So basically, the voter suppression, I think, is what I would look for. Because if you look at Lagos, Lagos have 7 million voter population. And the turnout is about the registered voters, 7 million, turnout vote cast about 1.3 million.
Yeah.
Which is quite sad. Because if you have 7 million registered voters in a country, in a state of about 35 million people, Only 7 million registered voters, which is, I think, is even low for 7 million to be a 35 million state, right? But the population of Lagos is more than the population of Ghana.
Right.
Then the people who have registered to vote is 7 million, but only 1.3 came to vote. So they should look at it. I think that Nigeria is too big to vote just in one day. It's too big. Like, it's a too big country to vote just in one day. And they finish their voting around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. We even finish later than them. Okay? So they really need to look at their system. If they want to create that democracy that everybody will feel involved, they need to do some serious reform by maybe voting in 2 days. India vote, I think, in a week or something like that. And that's like a billion population.
It's over a billion.
The mechanism, sorry?
It's over a billion.
Over a billion, yes. And they vote over a week. So they should have measures in place to be able to do the voting in 2 days. So that the first day voting is done, then some segment of the place is voted the second day, because it's too big a nation to just vote in one day.
Right.
Okay. The other one is what? There's the fever. Look,
Lassa fever.
We just play the Lassa fever. Look, once these things start, we don't take it serious. Everybody is there. We are a country that we don't even take records and samples to go to. It would take a lot for them to take these things to go and see the strain, the variant, and all these things that happen. If it was in other countries will do it and will be copying. Oh, there is this very different strains. There is this variant. There is this. We don't invest in research. Our R&D is none. Noguchi sits there and nobody gives them money until there is something that is a pandemic that we now have to write to Noguchi. Our research and development as a nation is missing.
And this is something I've spoken about on my blunt thoughts before. R&D in this country, practically non-existent. But if you even follow the trajectory.
My brother, go to KNUST and you see the beautiful thing the students are doing.
Yeah.
And no money for research and development.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked to your bone.
Yeah, I know that for a fact. And in one of my blunt thoughts, it just brings to mind Samsung in the, just about the 80s thereabouts, and the work they started doing in R&D and what it started yielding for them. Today, it's a household name. Back then, you wouldn't hear of Samsung. At a point, I think they were even manufacturing for, is it Sanyo and other entities? And they decided to go on their own. And it was harnessed on R&D. In fact, at a point, they were the second in the world in terms of investment in R&D. But here we are.
But that's the only way. That is the only way a country develops. R&D, research and development.
Daily Guide.
We have a beautiful university called KNUST. Nobody puts money towards them. Now, it doesn't have to be government. We have all these rich people all of a sudden buying unnecessary things in this country, cars that they can't even drive, right? Why don't they, if they mean so well, why don't they put money in R&D in this
industry? They'll come after you.
It's sad. Like, it tell you that at the level of wealth, look, so I can talk, because let me give you an example. My grandfather, okay, with all his money, he did a development fund for the engineering department in Tech.
Right.
Because he knew the value of the engineering department in Tech. He had these kiln dryers that he couldn't find secretary in Europe anymore. Guess who was doing the secretaries for him for his kiln dryers? Tech, KNUST. Okay. So he knew the power if you enhance the development of KNUST, what you can get. It doesn't have to be government. You have money.
Kojo,
go and put your money in research and development in Tech.
We have to go, but I want to sneak in this, and I'll give you 30 seconds, Kojo. I'll give you 30 seconds to tell us how your campaign is going as you lace your boots to stand for the flag bearership of the MPP. But before that,
Ben,
Daily Guide, hold on.
30 minutes for my campaign. Why would you give me 30 seconds for my campaign?
we are running out of time. Anyway, Daily Guide, Lands Commission fires 10 over 100 million Ghana cedi fraud. EC to register 550K voters annually. And Business Finder, lifeline for women-led businesses. And GIPC CEO named 2022 African Business Personality. Okay, let's do this in a minute. Kojo Poku, 1 minute. Tell us, how's your campaign going? What have you been doing? Not more than 1 minute.
Very well. And my campaign is going very well. Thank God I'm in Eastern Region, Koforidua tomorrow, meeting the regional executive committee, and I'm greeting them if they are watching you this morning. It's going to be a beautiful meeting. It was a beautiful meeting in Western Region. It was a beautiful meeting in Central Region. It was a beautiful meeting in Northwest. I'm doing very well. I'm in a lane that nobody's in, and I'm loving it, and it's so beautiful. You have no idea. The other work of the other thing, the people who are arrested in Lands Commission. But these people will be arrested. Their trial will take 6 years. What are we talking about, please? People who are arrested for stealing money, people who are arrested for doing this, they go to court. It will take 6 years to find out guilty or not guilty. So what are we arresting them for?
Okay.
Let's move on. The other thing is what?
I think that is it.
Congratulations to the people who won the award.
All right. Kojo, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, my brother.
And I wish you the best of the day. A few messages that came in. Asha A says, great news, very interesting. I'm watching from Ghana, Takwa. And I couldn't but acknowledge this one. Abraham Isaac says, good morning. I'm watching from Monrovia in Liberia. Thank you for doing the watching all the way from across West Africa and beyond. This news review has been brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. Locate us in Accra Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronum here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrady Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Nzema. Call us on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. These are very serious times if you're a Chelsea fan. But even as a Reds fan, Red Devils fan, maybe that team will bounce back just as Liverpool. Sports up next on the AM show.
Good morning, it's time for sports with me, Haruna Mubarak. Let's start with the Ghana Premier League because Great Olympics continued their fine form against House of Folk as they recorded a slim win in the regional clash last night. After a barren first half, Samuel Ashikwe converted from the spot to give Olympics the lead 7 minutes into the second half. The Dade boys held firm to claim all 3 points last night.
Richmond Aye's delivery. Entry clears it back for Olympics. Yusuf Abdul-Razak has got the pace. There he goes. Here comes Kunedu. Clever play from the defender. He did well to get in front of the attacker. Kosa. Linda Mtange. Good play from Linda. He shoots. Asari. He failed to deal with it the first time. Michael Osei with a cross. Here comes Nete. And Nete has missed from close range. Perfect opportunity to have scored his debut goal for Great Olympics. That's clever from Nete. Here's Abdul-Razak Yusuf. Back to Nete. Good 1-2 between Nete and Yusuf. Now here's Michael Osei. Julian Nunu points to the spot after the challenge on Osei from Kosa. Penalty, Great Olympics. So there we go. It is Nete to Razak. Now Michael Osei. Now it was Otanga who went in with a tackle and not Kosa. Referee whistles. Ashikwe steps up. Here's Ashikwe. And he sends Ayi the wrong way. Is the opening goal for Great Olympics. Olympics 1, Hearts 0 at the Accra Sports Stadium in the Gamashi Derby. The Dade boys have taken the lead.
Well, the defeat sees House of Folk drop to the 6th spot with 28 points, 8 behind league leaders Aduana FC. Now from Accra to Kumasi, where Asante Kotoko returned to winning ways with a hard-fought 1-0 win over Bechem United at the Baba Yara Stadium. Enoch Morrison scored the only goal of the game in the 21st minute to secure the victory for the Porcupines.
10 Lepenko will come forward. That's a lovely pass. Clinton Dodu brought it down nicely. Full ball control, unfortunately. Did the twist well, the turn and the resultant shot. Kotoko come forward now. Kinful is committed up ahead. Yes, Infege decides to go down that right. Twist and turn. Enoch! That is a trademark goal. Oh, he knows how to do this and he does it with some sublime skill.
Yeah, clever little finish from Morrison. You don't allow him to cut onto his left foot. When Kotoko were on the counter, you see the Bechem defenders were backing up. And the moment they backed off, it gave Kotoko the space here. Look at them, back it off, and Mukwala had space. Ifege picking up Morrison. The moment he cuts onto his left, he's going for that bullet and that.
Come forward through Sheriff Mohammed. Richmond Lamptey picks it up nicely, goes past one. He's still ghosting into the 18-yard box, lays on the pass. Ifege got to the ball early enough. An opportunity for Kotoko. Goes round his marker. Clinton still has the ball, but the referee believes that we've had enough of the exchanges. 90 minutes.
Well, the win moves Kotoko back in second place and within touching distance of the top spot, while Bechem United dropped to the fourth spot. Let's check out the rest of the results for match day 19. And here, as you watched, Asante Kotoko, they won by a goal to 0 against Bechem United. Karela United, they sat at home and lost by 2-1 to Accra Lions. Kotoko Royals were 3-0 winners over Dreams FC. BBN Gold Stars emerged 2-0 winners over Nswatreman FC. Iduana FC played out a goalless draw with King Faisal. Now, Brekum Chelsea won by 1-0 against Samatex, and Legon Cities drew 1-0 with Tamale City. Now, Asante Kotoko will have to search for a new home ground temporarily because the Baba Yara Stadium will not be available for domestic competitions until after Ghana's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Angola. The Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Ghana Football Association, and the National Sports Authority reached the decision at a meeting on Wednesday. This is to give managers of the pitch ample time to further improve its quality for the big game. Remember, Ghana will face Angola on Thursday, March 23. Well, Manchester United through to the last 8 of the competition, hoping to win their second trophy of the season. Now we can look at the quarter-final draw. We've got big clubs like Manchester City in there. There you go. Manchester City in the next round, they would face Burnley. Manchester United host Fulham, Brighton and Hove Albion. They welcome Grimsby Town, and Sheffield United play Blackburn Rovers. So that's how we wrap up sports here on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak.
He's always not paying attention. His rise to fame is through basically twisting people's words. Mr. Speaker, I was very clear about what I said. I was talking about attendance. We are talking about the Minister of Finance's presence today. We have a letter that says that he's engaged, a very important engagement. I accept that. But I said, this House, and of course, I was speaking in terms of this side of the House, is not impressed with his attendance. What is wrong with that? So, Mr. Speaker, I don't withdraw that statement because that is what I believe in. If he has a problem with that, he can just modify that statement. But that is what we believe, that his attendance in this House is not impressive.
Mr. Speaker, he who comes to equity must first do equity and must come with clean hands. You see, the deputy minority leader is a very sensitive person who is sensitive to words. Now you're saying that a statement that you boldly made, that this House is now being qualified or modified to mean your side of the House. If that is what you meant, why didn't you say so? And you are not courageous and honorable enough to accept your mistake. Then you now say that somebody's rise to fame is through twisting people's statement. I didn't twist your statement. And I would not use that to rise to any fame. I don't need it. I would want to earn it through hard work and merit.
House is not impressed with the record of the Minister of Finance attendance, but we'll allow that letter to stand, as you know.
I know my respected colleague opposite me expects that people treat him fairly in terms of choice of words. And I have taken note of his concerns about some approach in dealing with issues of disagreement. But I would beg him to withdraw the aspect of his statement. Quote, this House is not impressed. If you are talking about your own impression about the minister, say so for the record. But don't let Hansard capture the phrase, this House is not impressed. This House is a House of 275 members. And I do not know of anything untoward that has been done by the finance minister to warrant this statement from you on behalf of the entire House. The minister, as courtesy demand, has written to Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker has read it out aloud and in extenso to us as a House. So I do not think the least you can do is to say that the House has not been impressed with his conduct. What did he do? Mr. Speaker, I beg that that aspect of his statement be withdrawn or is expunged.
It's a good thing that they now have lights. I went there personally myself. They have light, but they are not working in the sense that they say they don't have the cards to register the citizens, so they are waiting for cards. So they are still not working. And I wanted to find out from them, as was directed yesterday on the floor, how many cards have they issued? They were unable to give me the figure. And they directed me to head office to go and find that out, which is very interesting because you did the registration, so you should be able to tell me that so far, Kwando Constituency, this is the number of cars we've registered. What they told me was that they have 1,040 cars yet to be collected. I mean, the people were there several times, but they couldn't collect the cars because there was no electricity for them to do verification. So that was the issue as to why they have the cars there. Some people have come there so many times that they are just not interested. Others are like, you know, we've had enough. So that's where we are at now. They said they have in the system a little over 1,000 cars to print. So that's the situation there now, and they are just sitting down waiting.
So this bolsters your minority case that you cannot use the Ghana card to go ahead and use that for registering voters?
Of course, it would be a great disservice to the Ghanaian if we went ahead to use the Ghana card because the cards are just not there. And if you look at it, the figures that I see on the NIA's presentation that they have issued to Kwando people, it's just not true. Because when I went round, those who haven't received the Ghana card, they are well in excess of 20,000. And if you say you've given about that amount of cards in Kwando, it doesn't make sense. So you can see that there's something quite not right. And more so, the people in the NIA office in Kwando were not able to give me the figures of those they had registered. And they were like, go to head office for that figure. Why is it the head office who didn't register the people in Kwando are the only people who should give me the figures? It makes you suspicious. It makes you think that there's something going on behind the scenes. That's why I suspect that the figures are cooked. We need to do an audit, get a neutral, independent person to go and do an audit and find out the cards you say you've issued to the different districts. Is it true? Because obviously I don't believe it.
So that's the pot boiler. Today on the Big Stories, we'll discuss what's been happening in Parliament, the developments there as far as the Ghana card is concerned. Now, there's still a row over the EC's decision to make the Ghana card the sole requirement in terms of securing a voter's ID. The minority in Parliament says it does not trust the assurances made by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to release funds to clear debts owed by the National Identification Authority. Joining us for that conversation, we have And let me make it clear from the outset of the program, we attempted getting from the other side those with dissenting opinions, the ruling administration. We tried getting a candidate to represent at least their thinking on this discussion. They did not give us a representative. Let me make that clear before we start the conversation, so you do not go saying it's an imbalanced empanelment. That is it. We tried our best to get someone from the NPP side, and there was no representative. Let me make that clear as we start the conversation. Joining us, Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alhassan Suini, is our guest. Mr. Suini, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben, and good morning to your crew. Good morning to our viewers as well.
Pleasure having you. Let's start with, well, Parliament. That's definitely where we're going to be starting from. And the latest dynamics in the last few days. And we could even go back, before we get to the CI and talk about it, we could go back to the vetting of some candidates for ministerial positions. I don't think I've engaged you on that. I don't recall. No. If I have, then maybe we can gloss over it. But if I have not, maybe you can start with that end, the vetting process, and how you think these appointees or nominees have fared in front of the panel.
Well, yes, I don't remember us having a conversation on the vetting process. And I think that because it is usually live, it is my view that many
Hello, Al-Hassan.
The vetting committee. Obviously, there was a release from my party, the National Democratic Congress, even before the vetting process began, to indicate that because of the clarion call by well-meaning Ghanaians on the president to reduce the size of his government as it engages in what is known as burden sharing, they did not think it was questionable for us as a party to be facilitating, the maintenance or the increase in numbers of his ministers. And I thought that was a very good call. So if you observed, the vetting was mainly about how together as either sympathizers of the government or opposition to the government, we could work together to help government reduce the burden that it currently, the burden of running government that is currently being borne by the ordinary people. And so clearly, yes, people could not just refuse the nominations. They thought that it was the prerogative of the president to nominate them to be ministers, but they agreed with the general consent that there's a need for government to cut down on expenditure. They just didn't think that that cut should affect their appointment. Now, apart from that, there were other constitutional matters that were raised. For example, with the Honorable K.T. Hammond, I raised his eligibility based on the Commission of Inquiry report that looked into the judgment debt saga in this country and the ill-found findings that were made against him in that report, which has not yet been set aside, and how that was, in my view, in contravention of Article 94 of the Constitution that talks about eligibility to be a member of Parliament and, for that matter, a Minister of State. That was a very, poignant issue that up till to date we have not resolved. A number of moves were suggested even by the majority leader for the nominee to make to assure the committee that we were not going to do something illegal if we went ahead to approve his nomination. But clearly, after the vetting, the minority side indicated our inability to cooperate with the majority side to get the nominees approved. And so the report will be taken sometime, maybe next week, because this week is a little too late in the day. But you can never,
Hello, Al-Hassan. seem to be losing Al-Hassan Suini. Al-Hassan, if you can hear me, intermittently we appear to be losing you. Let's see whether you can get your connection back on track. Hello, Al-Hassan, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know when you lost me, but I was just making the point that apart from the KT Hammond issue, there was also the issue of First Ghana company that is supposed to have engaged in some fraudulent activity with government endorsement because there are letters to show that government through the Ministry of local government, Obiamwa, Deputy Minister acting on behalf of that ministry, did give some, comfort letter to the company, which the company used to engage assemblies, proposing to construct public places of convenience across the country. I mean, it came up strongly. The nominee was of the view that he thinks that the company engaged in fraud, and he was surprised when I indicated that the Attorney General had decided to, stop prosecuting the CEO of the company. And he went further to suggest that people must carry out some thorough investigation into that matter and hold the company responsible. And then some DCEs he thought were also culpable responsible. But the company has since come back with a petition to the committee, to disqualify Honorable Obiamwa because in their view, he was not honest and he was not straightforward with the questions that he was asked. So all of this, I'm sure, will play out when the committee presents its report sometime next week. And I was just making the point, I don't know if you lost me at that point also, that even though this week is far gone, we on the minority side are not putting our guards down. We believe that our colleagues on the other side sometimes cannot be trusted on issues such as this. And so I expect the report to be taken sometime next week. But together with my colleagues, we are on the lookout. If they try to present it this week, we'll be ready to register our protest and to raise these issues.
Are you suggesting that the majority side could try, on your blind side, to steamroll, this process so that your say will not count? Is that what you're suggesting?
They have tried that a number of times, and somehow, due to our vigilance, we have always been able to put them right back on track. And so we are not going to be surprised if they make the attempt to lay the report on our blind side this weekend to pick it, even though this week is far gone. But we are still on the lookout. I am hoping that perhaps sometime next week, when the report is presented, together as members of Parliament, we'll raise the issues that were raised, during the vetting strongly. And when it comes to the vote, we pledge not to disappoint the many Ghanaians, civil society organizations that have all called on the president to, reduce the size of his government. Yes, our numbers may not be enough to stop, these people from becoming ministers, especially if our colleagues on the majority side do not vote with us. But we would have registered our protest, and we would have been comfortable enough knowing that we are standing with the majority of Ghanaians who think that at this point, what government should be doing is to be reducing its size and not to be maintaining or even increasing it, which leads to increasing cost of running government.
So the stance of the minority is clear. You're going to be rejecting these. Given the opportunity, you're going to reject the nomination of these ministers.
Absolutely.
On those grounds that you've mentioned.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Let's also get to the critical issue of that CI that has been tabled in Parliament. You requested vociferously that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, be there, and she was a few days ago. I hear she had to come from Nigeria because there had been some monitoring on the back of the Nigerian election, but she made it into town, and there was quite a feisty deliberation from your side especially, and the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. But tell me, what exactly about the CI is the minority so opposed to? I know the Ghana card is the bone of contention, but explain it to ordinary Ghanaians who are watching us, who don't have a certain understanding of the position of the minority.
Yes, so you are right. I mean, it has been simply reduced to the Ghana card. But the Ghana card is not the problem. But how the Ghana card is intended to be used by the Electoral Commission is the problem. The card or its usage is not a problem. But how the Electoral Commission intends to use it is the problem. So as a party, we have said repeatedly that we have nothing against the Ghana card being one of the documents that can be used for the purpose of registering Ghanaians to carry out their constitutional mandate of voting. We have nothing against that. But we are saying, in our current state, and given the challenges that the National Identification Authority is going through when it comes to providing people with this document, we are saying that it is unfair and unreasonable to make it the only requirement for purposes of registering people, to vote. That's basically is our position. It is unfair, it is unreasonable, given the challenges that the NIA is going through currently when it comes to providing the cards for Ghanaians, to make it the only requirement. That's the first issue we have. The second issue we have with the CI is the suggestion that continuous...
Before you move on to the second point, my apologies. So you're concerned about it being the sole requirement. What other alternatives would you have wanted to come on board? I mean, I want us to take it step by step so that ordinary Ghanaians who may not have a proper understanding of the issues would be in the know about your position. So please don't gloss over certain aspects. Let's take it bit by bit. So what would have been your alternatives?
I really appreciate that. Now, the Ghana card, when you go to register for the Ghana card, the National Identification Authority does not only use the voter ID card. I mean, they don't only use the birth certificate as the source document. They have a system in place that is commonly referred to as the guarantor system. Even for the registration of Ghana card, there are other, source documents that are allowed for people to register to be Ghanaian. So they have the guarantor system. The Electoral Commissioner, Jane Mensah, on the floor when he met, the House, admitted that the guarantor system of the NIA is more foolproof compared to the guarantor system of the Electoral Commission. So it beats one's imagination why she will not then adopt the guarantor system that the NIA is using so that we can improve upon whatever she wants to improve upon when it comes to the mandate of the EC to register people for the purposes of voting. So if the guarantor system has worked for the NIA, which is praised by the Electoral Commissioner, why is it difficult for the Electoral Commission to include that in the CI and use the same process that the NIA uses when it, adopts the guarantor system? So we are saying that there are other alternatives. There's also the use of the birth certificate. And you see, for purposes of elections, if we are not careful, we are going to get to a point where we will become so, let me put it simply, we are going to get to a point where it is going to become very difficult to even identify who a Ghanaian is or to define who a Ghanaian is. Because of political expediency, we keep shifting the goalpost on how to identify a Ghanaian. So parents can no longer, parents who are Ghanaians can no longer even vouch for their children that they are Ghanaians. Birth certificates cannot vouch for, nationality of a person. I mean, so we are saying that there are other alternatives that can be used, like the guarantor system, like the birth certificate, even the other cards, such as National Health Insurance card, which is now gone biometric. Because if the Electoral Commission is compiling biometric data, my biometric data at the National Health Insurance will not be different from the biometric data that the Electoral Commission will require of me.
Right.
Even though they are compiling a different data set. I mean, they are compiling, it for a different purpose. So if it is about the biometrics, some of our cards that have been issued that are commonly available to people also, take biometrics. So why don't we include that in the CI? Why is the focus only on the Ghana card? It makes people suspicious, especially given the situation that the NIA itself is in. And to make it worse, when you have the finance minister who is unable to raise money to pay bondholders who are due, whose investments are due. He's unable to raise money to pay capitation grants for schools to run, efficiently. He's unable to raise money to do some of the critical things that we all know. But all of a sudden, he says he can get the money available for the National Identification Authority to, carry out a mandate that has been given it, that it has been unable to perform fully over the years because of the inability of the government to get funds for it. And all of a sudden, the minister says, for that exercise, funds will be made available.
Why do you find that? Why do you find that so suspicious? Why do you find it maybe untenable? After all, the finance minister did say on the floor of Parliament that 80 million Ghana cedis had already been paid, and a further 20 million was paid just a few days ago, making it 100 million. I do accept it's still a drop in the bucket because we are looking at $117 million, not cedis. But action is being taken. 100 million Ghana cedis, which is no mean feat, has been paid, and the promise has been made that the followings, the payments to be made will be made so that the NIA can move ahead with its work. Why do you find it so difficult to trust the finance minister?
First of all, I've made the point that it doesn't seem rational to me, and I believe it should be so to any well-meaning Ghanaian, that the NIA at this stage is unable to cover majority of Ghanaians, with its exercise. And in the face of alternatives, the Electoral Commission seems bent on using the card that is not easily accessible as the only requirement for registering people for the purposes of voting. It is not rational. It's not rational that the card that is not easily accessible is going to be the only, requirement for registering people for the purposes of voting. Anybody will ask why so when there are other cards that are more accessible that also, capture people's biometrics and all of that. It's a basic question that anybody, who is well-meaning will ask. Secondly, remember the NIA is not mandated to register people for purposes of voting. So if the Electoral Commission, which has the mandate to register people for the purposes of voting, were to be getting this money from the finance minister because it wants to prepare for the next election, it would have been understandable. But the NIA, one would have thought, given the sensitive nature of the job that it is doing, would have been given funds long ago by the finance minister if the intention was really to get it to carry out its mandate, which I believe when it is well done, can even help government increase its revenue, because then you are able to identify citizens properly and, tax them appropriately. So if after all these years, a policy that has the potential of increasing government revenue has been starved of funds by the finance minister, only for him to be willing to give that policy financial support, when the policy is now linked to the process of voting, anybody in the electoral process should be suspicious, should wonder why. Why the potential of increasing government revenue was not enough to push the finance minister to release funds for the NIA.
If the finance minister, Al-Hassan Sweeney, if the finance minister, we do not have a proper formula of how he's going to be releasing funds, but if he came through with some formula that, look, by quarter this, I'm going to make X amount available to the NIA, and that subsequently this is how it's going to go, and we're going to be releasing funds based on X, Y, Z. Would that be more convincing for you, the minority?
That should be treated separately from what the Electoral Commission wants to do. The NIA should not be stampeded, in my view.
It didn't appear from when Professor Kenatefua, appeared in Parliament. It didn't appear they were being stampeded. Did you get that impression?
Not really. What the impression I got is that the NIA is very eager.
Let's do this. Did you get that impression or not? Not really is like saying, oh, I got it in a way, but it wasn't there. Which is it? Did you get that impression or not?
That's the question. Not really. I didn't get it. It didn't come out directly. And I'm being very fair to the NIA here. And I'm being very honest also that I think that the NIA workers are more focused on delivering on their mandate of providing citizens with an ID card. They do not seem to be concerned too much about what that card will be used for.
Right.
They are focused, so they want money to deliver that. They think that if they get the money, they can do it within a certain time frame. But I'm saying that should be, that shouldn't be related to the timetable of the Electoral Commission. We don't need to say that because the Electoral Commission needs the cards, let us, ramp up the release of funds to the NIA and stampede the NIA to act so that they can meet the deadline of the Electoral Commission. There are two different entities, for God's sake, mandated differently by our Constitution. If the NIA had the funds that it requires in the past, and they were not delivering at this point, maybe we would have been asking them questions. But clearly, they seem very eager to do their job, whether the Electoral Commission wants to use their card for purposes of voting or not. They don't seem that concerned about it. They just want to deliver on their mandate. And I'm saying that is how the government should also approach this. But when the government's approach seems to look like they want the NIA to work to meet the timetable of the Electoral Commission, then you wonder why. You wonder why, because the two entities have never been taxed by a constitution or any law to work together on, to meet each other's timetables. Right. The NIA is to make sure that they identify Ghanaians appropriately, and they are doing that. Why has it all of a sudden become necessary for it to, work to meet the timetable of the Electoral Commission?
You will accept, though, that sometimes the work of different institutions, in fact, that is the way it ought to be in many ways. You can have a conjoined approach, like conjoined twins, so that their work is seamless. So if one entity is creating a biometric system with data of ordinary Ghanaians, and we're trying to get to the point where we have such a system so that identifying who is Ghanaian and who is not is streamlined, especially in an exercise as crucial as elections. And the EC is working hand in glove with the NIA. I mean, there was a point when Professor Atifua came many months ago, I think somewhere last year, getting to the end of the year, and said that they are not bound by any specific timeline, so to speak, but they are working to ensure that every Ghanaian gets the card. But they are also willing to ensure that it can also work somewhat in tandem with the EC's work, so that those who need to get on the register are able to get on the register. I mean, that has been the impression so far. So to say that they are totally dissociating themselves, that's not your wording, but to suggest that might be a bit difficult to swallow, because they have agreed to work along those lines.
I absolutely agree with you, Ben. I mean, the state institutions are supposed to speak to each other in the course of carrying out their different mandates. It is something that we must encourage, because when that doesn't happen, you have duplications here and there and wastage as a result of those duplications. So I am not against the institutions speaking to each other. For example, I do know from the briefing of the NIA that the National Health Insurance Authority today relies solely on the NIA for the purpose of, registering people to access health, and also renewing, their, renewing their qualification to use the card. So they rely on the data of the National Identification Authority. So that comes naturally when the National Identification Authority is helped to perform its task. It comes naturally. The NHIA, for example, did not have to give the NIA a deadline, or the NIA did not have to work to meet any timetable of the National Health Insurance Authority. But as a result of their work, the National Health Insurance Authority now finds it convenient to synchronize its data system with that of the National Identification Authority. And it is working well for the two institutions. That is how it should be. But when you starve the NIA of funds and only begin to make funds available when the Electoral Commission wants the NIA to finish its exercise at a particular time so that it can, use its work for election purposes, I mean, it's not tidy. That's just the way I see it. It is not tidy. It raises all kinds of questions, because the Electoral Commission is the only body mandated to register people for the purposes of voting. It should not delegate that authority to another institution, unless, of course, that institution's work somewhat can impact on the work of the Electoral Commission without raising some of these questions that this particular arrangement currently seems to be raising. So first and foremost, our position is that the card, the NIA card, is not easily accessible. And everybody listening to us or watching us this morning can attest to that fact, that it is not easily accessible. We have so many people who have even gone through the process, but as we speak, cannot get their cards, issued to them. So many people. So many people. We also have people who have gone to the registration centers many, many times and have not been able to have their, data captured. So many people, if you open your phone lines now, they will be calling to make these testimonies. We also have situations, and that leads me to the second reason why we are, having this standoff with the Electoral Commission, who are not able to, travel the distances that, the distances that are required to be traveled to get registered. I mean, when the NIA did the mass registration exercise, look at the numbers that they were able to cover at that point, and compare that to the numbers that they have been able to register since they stopped doing the mass rollout. Why? Because their offices are located at mostly district capitals, or if you like, the cities. And sometimes I, with all due respect and with apologies to many people, tend to think that so many people at decision making in this country do not have a fair appreciation of the geography of this country. They haven't traveled that much around the country, and so they do not have a fair appreciation of the geography of the country.
So, are you saying these crucial entities, the NIA and maybe even the Electoral Commission, are losing sight of that they are not aware of the intricacies of traveling from different parts of the country to get registered?
That's why I'm saying that with all apologies and with all due respect, I mean, some not only limited to the NIA or the Electoral Commission, but there are so many people who high up in this country who do not have a fair appreciation of the geography of this country. So when they are making decisions, they tend to be influenced by the limited knowledge they have about the geography of this country. So they are very familiar with Accra and how Accra operates. They are familiar with how Kumasi operates. They are familiar with how Cape Coast, operates, and maybe Ho. And so they are, tempted to assume that all parts of the country work that way. But it will shock you to realize that sometimes some people will have to travel for more than 12 hours, more than a full day to get to their district capital. Sometimes it's not just about the distance, but it's also about the quality of accessible roads in those areas. They will require more than a day's travel to reach their district capital. So when you have a policy that says that continuous registration will be taking place at the district offices of Electoral Commission, you wonder what went into that kind of thinking. And that is why you will be forgiven to think that perhaps it is influenced by a certain, unfortunate impression of how the country looks like geographically. Because if you know that in some districts, it will take certain communities more than a day to reach the district capital, you will not say that you will position registration of voters at the district capital and expect that people who are 18 and above in these communities that are far off will find it that necessary to go through the hassle of making that journey to get registered. It is a way, in my view, of disenfranchising Ghanaians.
So that is a point that your leader in Parliament made, that this entire exercise, if not handled properly, could lead to the disenfranchisement of a majority of Ghanaians, though we do know technically that the majority of those who likely would vote, looking at the numbers we've had, though we're looking at a population of 31 plus million, and to bring people on board in phases, when you look at the voter population, it likely would mean that more people who would vote have been registered, apart from those who are now going to get on the continuous registration cycle or get on the electoral register, which wouldn't amount to, the huge numbers that generally we're looking at. But if you reflect on the response of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, in specific response to that question, I'll let you come in. You can respond to both. But she says it will engender confidence in the electoral process, that is using the Ghana card, and make the registration of voters a continuous one. I wish to emphasize that this CI and its provisions are not aimed at disenfranchising eligible Ghanaians. The continuous registration process will be inclusive, as it will make it possible to capture all those who would otherwise have been excluded in a limited registration exercise. Now, you do admit that in limited registration exercises, some people would have been left out anyway. It happens all the time. The second point to be made is there that level of mistrust so that, for example, what you said about the finance minister, what you've said about the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, when they say, we're going to work efficiently, effectively to ensure that no one who actually wants to participate in the process, who actually wants to get registered, is left out?
Before I deal with the issue of mistrust, is about the number of people who have been registered, in relation to the number of people who actually vote. It's a tempting, position to assume, but it can be misleading. Why? Because the fact that maybe you have registered 10 million today, 10 million people are those who usually vote. It does not mean that they are the 10 million who usually vote. We know that many people, register for these cards because of the multiple uses that the card, affords them. And so if you register 5 million today, it doesn't mean that, and you had maybe 10 million people, okay, if you register 10 million today and you had 10 million people, turning up and voting the last time, it does not necessarily mean that you have covered people who are likely to vote. It may just mean that you have even covered more people in the 10 million may not be those who usually turn out to vote. So as much as possible, it's important that you make the process easily accessible. And that leads me to the next point that you made about limited registration exercises and how, people will not be captured anyway during limited registration exercises.
It's a
correct point.
Right, go ahead. It appears we're losing Al-Hassan again. Al-Hassan Suini, if you can hear me, you would just have to go back on the limited registration exercise point. We seem to be losing you. I don't know what is happening to the connection. Can you hear me, Mr. Suini?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Please go back on the point of the limited registration. Yes, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I am saying that you made a correct point, that during limited registration processes, people miss being captured anyway. Some people will be missed, which is correct. But our point is that make it, such that at the end of the day, anyone who is missed will only have himself or herself to blame.
Okay.
And will not have a genuine reason that is blamable on the state institution. Don't make it easy for anybody who is not captured to blame the state for the fact that he or she was not captured.
In other words, make the failure to capture as minimal as possible. That's basically
as minimal as possible. Make it as minimal as possible.
Right.
So that is why we think that the Electoral Commission's intentions may not be to disenfranchise people. I am one who is, willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, that perhaps the intention is not to disenfranchise people, but they must be aware that the actions may have unintended consequences.
Okay, let's hold there on the consequences, and we'll come to that. We'll come to what those consequences could be. But let me also bring in Professor Kwesi Amache-Boateng, political scientist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Prof, a very good morning to you. My apologies for having held you for quite a bit.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for staying with us. When you reflect on what the Electoral Commission, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Adukwe Mensah, has been sharing with Parliament on the back of this latest CI put before the House, what are your major takeaways, even before we get into the problematic areas?
Thank you, and let me say good morning to your viewers. Actually, I have issues with the conduct of the whole exercise. We're behaving as if we've got some very tight, rigid deadlines to meet, without which we can't function as a nation as far as our electoral activities are concerned. We are not operating under any such condition. And so we want to look at ourselves, Ghana, as we've been doing our things, institutional challenges that we have over the years, and to come to terms with the fact that we will need to prioritize one thing. And this thing is the inalienable right of the Ghanaian to participate in the politics of his fatherland, in the politics of his motherland. And that the state has a huge duty to ensure that this person does so. This person who wishes to participate in the politics of his country gets the opportunity to do that. That the state under no circumstances could be justified to act in ways, consciously or otherwise, that might affect, any individual's desire to take part in this politics. So generally, this is where I think all of us, including the EC, should be coming from. And the EC in this particular context is the state. So the EC's actions and inactions should be guided rigidly by this. On the basis of that, it cannot work with any assumptions and supposition. You know, behaving as if our systems, you know, have been functioning very well. We have got institutional incapacity in Ghana. This is the reality that we work in. And so I think that anytime we're looking at issues of this nature, you know, the benefit of the doubt should go to that individual who might, you know, through our actions and inactions, you know, become negatively affected.
So the way you see it, with this CI that has been put forward, how do we sanitize it, so to speak? Because there are problems about the accessibility to the Ghana card, how this could impact likely people who want to get on the register. I was just engaging Member of Parliament for Tamale North, who is still listening in, by the way, and he has said that we should minimize as much as possible the possibility of not getting people on the register. The chairperson of the EC says this will bring together or bring to bear a register that will not disenfranchise anybody, but will make the electoral process and the process of registration a continuous one and as easy as possible, also guaranteeing that every person who is registering is actually Ghanaian. What are the impediments you see in there?
You know, the EC's position is built on an assumption.
An assumption?
Assumption, yes. Assumption that the system will work very well, the NIA will become, efficient, its capacity is built, and that to go about its duties with all the diligence required, and that will facilitate anyone who want to, you know, get a Ghana card so he or she could register. But you know, this assumption is not an airtight one, and we know that the way we do our thing. Can the NIA, for example, stick its neck out now and tell Ghanaians that we don't have any particular individual who has gone to their office, any of their centers to register, and due to some technical issue, the person's card is still with them. Can the NIA tell us? The NIA has put out information informing us of the number of people, number of cards yet to be collected. You know, what are the category of cards or the individuals, you know, who are yet to go in for their card? Because at that time, when this same issue came up, there was this gentleman who came all the way from Upper East to Accra because he was asked, he went to the district center, he was asked to go to the regional center. Eventually, he was asked to go to Accra in pursuit of this Ghana card. Ben, there's something terribly wrong with that. We know that in other jurisdictions, the emphasis is not on a card. The emphasis is on an identification number. Some of us were elsewhere. We didn't go in for any card, but for a long time we were operating with a number, an identification number that was given to us, so we could go about with it and do whatever we wanted to do. So I think we want to take a second look at this whole issue, given our incapacity and our inefficiency in serving the public. You know, the public sector of this country has been performing terribly, you know, over the years, and it has not changed. It is not going to change because the EC wants to use the Ghana card as a sole document for the district. No. These, to me, are the considerations to make, and I think they supersede all other things, given the fact that the EC's position always has a hole in it. The possibility that at least one person who wants his or her card will not get it to register as a voter.
Do you side with the minority then? They have their suspicions, not just about the fact. I mean, I was just looking at a document, one of the papers this morning, capturing how the EC says it is going to register 550,000 voters annually onto the register. And the capacity to do that, one, taking into consideration the financial malaise that the NIA itself is facing. On the back of that is the mistrust of the minority for the finance minister to make do on his promises that he will ensure the NIA has enough funding to go ahead with this process. Do you feel that mistrust is misplaced or properly placed? And let me just put it into context. The NIA owes $117 million to its creditors, and out of that, 100 million cedis, not dollars, has been paid by the Finance Ministry. 80 million in one tranche and 20 million recently. What's your reaction to that?
Ben, political scientists look at an issue they call social capital, and that when it exists in a state, it enables the system to function effectively, efficiently. So social capital relates to trust and reciprocity existent in a jurisdiction. The understanding that when the traffic light indicates green, it means green, and that pedestrians can walk through. There will be no possibility of any motorist riding, across to hit anybody. So they walk through with that assurance, and that, can we say the same thing of our institution in Ghana? Over the years, we've not delivered on our words, on our promises. Just yesterday, the finance minister came out and challenged everybody, and in a way, that people were making, some sort of hue and cry over the terrible conditions of the economy, and that there was not going to be any IMF, in the way. Ghana wasn't going to go to the IMF. He added something social. Ghanaians are a proud people. He lied. He knew all along that the economy was terrible, and yet he stuck his neck out. Social capital doesn't exist in Ghana. We don't have any of that. It is zero. And so the issue of trust, Ben, is gone. Completely gone. One day is peak. We can't take it. Disenfranchising somebody should be seen as equally crucial and critical and dire, and that you wouldn't want to go near there. You don't have the power to do that, because the right to vote is inalienable. Ben, they don't understand these things. You can't touch it. You can't wish it into being. You don't assume that we are going to be able. No, let's get there before. Let's get there. Let's give everybody who would like to get his or her document, let's give it to them. Let's give it to them first. Let's see that they have it physically in their hands. We decided to go in for cards instead of numbers. Is it because people, in a way, given the way Ghana functions, is it because people stand to gain from contracts, resulting in these cards, instead of going in for numbers? It is the number on the card that matters. It is not the physical card per se. Yet we decided to go in for cards. Our decisions are terrible, And so we've given ourselves what we want. And it's gone. It goes with challenges, challenges that we have difficulty surmounting. Very basic things. Some people have their names misspelled. Some people have their, date of birth wrong and stuff like that. And the NIA has difficulties addressing all these petty issues. It came to the fore when the issue of the SIM card came up. Some of these cases are still outstanding. Can we try to engage Kenyans on this issue, and we'll be surprised to find out the number of people who have some of these unique cases that the NIA simply doesn't know what to do.
Okay.
They are not managing their own data properly. And so someone has to come from Upper East to Accra. This is ludicrous.
All right.
Then we can't work with trust here. We can't.
Right. Let me address these two issues with both of you, and then I'll take your concluding comments, gentlemen. But I'll start with you, Prof, and then I'll go to Alhassan Tuidi. Two issues. One, there is the issue of the creation of SAL, which is still hanging. When we spoke to Dr. Bosman Asari, he told us about the process being in place. But of course, some parties have opened their nominations, like the NDC, and it's still not clear whether that creation is going to be as speedy as possible so that those who want to put themselves forward can actually do so for the Santo Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi area. Were you saying something?
Yeah, the creation of what?
SAL, that constituency, Santo Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, Lolobi.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm just bringing that in. And I'm adding also the bit that this election in 2024 probably would be the most important. It's a crucial election, maybe the most important in the Fourth Republic. The MPP wants to break the 8. The NDC wants to return to power, so to speak, to normalize affairs. Now, if you look at what has happened with the BVAR in Nigeria and what the consequences have been, I mean, it's not been violence or anything of the sort, but how people are reacting, and now there are going to be legal issues from the PDP, from the Labour Party. How do we avert such a situation in terms of our own register in respect of the Ghana card and not disenfranchising anybody? What are your suggestions in that respect? 2 minutes each. I'll give you, Prof, the starter.
Okay, on this whole issue, you want to ask yourself, questions regarding to why we still, have it on our hands. One expected that this should have been addressed long ago, given the fact that somehow we couldn't let them participate in the processes the last time round, and were the people there to blame. I was highlighting this issue of inalienable right. So I think that it itself, in a way, gives credence to people who are skeptical about the whole use of this Ghana card as a sole document to get people registered. And then we're looking at our system, the way the Nigerian elections went and then the challenges associated with it. The issue has not necessarily got to do with violence. But you see, elections start basically with the rules of the game, the electoral rules, the principles associated with them. You must get them right. And over there, then if you want to do things properly, you go in for consensus. You don't work with the majoritarian system. You don't allow people to raise hands. We believe, no. With electoral process, it is at the heart of democratic, governance, democratic politics. And if you want your system to stabilize, if you want your system to work, the first area, in fact, is the primary, is the core, your rule, you get them right. To go in for consensus.
Right.
Lazy approaches emphasize this majoritarian. The Nigerians, I don't know how they view their system, the faith they had, or the trust they placed in the technology and stuff like that. I don't think fine. Let's say that as a people, we should learn lessons and to know what to do going forward. So some of these things, when we know that we are not very sure, then let's go ahead with what is workable.
Okay.
Once again, once we build consensus on the rules, going forward, everything will fall in place.
All right. Alhassan Suhuyini, your take on these two very quickly. SAL and then what the consequences could be if we don't get it right ahead of election 2024.
To diffuse any, form of suspicion that is convincing in any way in the course of their, duties. They must act to diffuse any form of, suspicion that is even believable in the slightest way. That is how they can prevent, some of these things that we are seeing in Nigeria and worse forms that we have seen elsewhere from happening when we eventually get to the polls. But where you allow suspicion to fester and you ignore and bulldoze your way because you have the mandate of the Constitution to so do, then you leave all these things bottled up. And the least misunderstanding in the course of the polls, all of that, that were left unresolved, just flood in to cause a volcano. And that is what the Electoral Commission must be working to diffuse. Look, the issue of SAL, and that brings me to something that I was thinking about also. Why is it all of a sudden looking like the Electoral Commission is responsible for the efficiency of the NIA? Why should it all of a sudden look like the Electoral Commission is responsible for making sure that the National Identification Authority performs its functions well? Why? Is that its mandate? Its mandate is clear in the Constitution to register people for the purposes of voting and other, things.
Right.
So why are they concerning themselves with the inefficiency of the NIA? Why is it their business? Why? When their business is to create a constituency such as South, so that the people there will have a representative in Parliament, they shirk that responsibility.
Okay,
For
all right.
3 years now, they have done nothing about that. Again, their responsibility is to ensure that continuous registration is done. 3 years now, they haven't done that. We have not done any limited registration exercise also.
Right.
And yet we are approaching a district assembly elections. That is their responsibility. They have checked that. But they are focused or concerned with the efficiency of another body.
So
National Identification Authority. How is that their business?
Point made. Mr. Sweeney, we have to go, but there's a bit that has come up that I cannot let you go without bringing up. Your constituency, Tamale North, there's a story on My Joy Online about an outbreak of measles in your constituency. We know there's been a shortage of vaccines for children, rubella, polio, measles, and others. What's happening in your constituency? What can you tell us about this issue? What's the latest on that, if you'd not mind sharing?
Yes, let me also take this opportunity to make a little detour to wish His Excellency President Mahama the very best of luck as he launches his campaign for the flag bearership of the NDC later today in the Volta region. And I wish all our comrades traveling there mercies. But on the issue of... Are you supporting
him for the flag bearership? Are you supporting him to become flag bearer?
Absolutely. All 137 members of parliament are in support of President Mahama's candidature.
Did you mean 136?
36, yes. We are all in support of
all right.
36, 70. 36 plus 1 or minus 1. It's fine.
Quickly on the measles bit.
Yes. So the measles situation is not just limited to Tamale North, but it is the greater Tamale, if I'm allowed to call it as such, and by extension, even the northern region. Many districts have so far recorded, cases of measles, and only about a year ago, a couple of months ago, because it was late last year, the central hospital in Tamale had to even shut down a pediatric unit as a result of this outbreak, and it doesn't seem to be ending, and it is rather, increasing. Recorded cases are increasing daily from various districts in the northern region. So I thought that there was a need for Parliament to give it attention. And yesterday, with the leave of Mr. Speaker, I made a statement on the need for the government to take this outbreak serious, because this is a disease that we should have eradicated in 2020. And for us to have an outbreak, not just isolated cases of it in 2023, is just unacceptable. And it is made worse by the fact that we do not have vaccines. I mean, these are vaccine-preventable diseases, and we should not be in the state that we find ourselves in. So today, the Minister of Health will be in Parliament to brief the nation on the measles situation and what is expected of all stakeholders, including school authorities and parents as well. Because, I mean, if you look at the category of children who are affected by measles, if care is not taken, schools are going to have to close down very soon.
All right. Alassane Sweeney, we're very grateful for your time this morning. Thank you so much for having joined us. He's Member of Parliament for Tamale North. He was also just talking about the situation when it comes to measles in the Greater Tamale area. Professor Kwesi Amachibwateng is a political scientist at the KNUST. You have just about a minute, sir, for your wrap-up thoughts, if less, even better. All right. We've lost Prof, but we're grateful to him as well for having joined us for that conversation. Still to come on the show, of course, we'll be telling you about the Joy Clean Ghana campaign, and we'll be heading to the Tema motorway as well. All of that still to come on the AM show. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.
It's a requirement for every household to have a toilet facility. So today we'll be going to the various houses to enforce them. We are here with the AMA Sanitation and Environmental team. They are going to ensure that the households and the landlords provide the tenants with toilet facilities.
And yet the same. I didn't hear. Madam, and Rawi ha. And Ramayi. Only Nipa or Becatro said they be you my just look in front of the woman. They look in front of you. Nama Sandy West was Sasha. I don't look of father. You say, now your location will show you back. Say, see, I started. One of my father,
we are going to households without toilet facilities, but I think this wasn't part of the agenda. So why are we doing this one?
You know, the way we are doing is for public health. It's public health concern. We are going to enforce houses without toilet facilities. But as we are going, if we see something that can have an effect on public health, you need to talk about it. You understand? This is drain. And we all know about the operation Clean Your Frontage. There are two people selling things rightly by the drain. When you look at the next side, the woman has cleared her drain and have cleaned the place very neat. But in front of her, look at how the place is. So we need to ensure that she cleaned the place and she doesn't sell things in front of the dirty drain.
She has been advised to clear the drain almost every day. We've been to about 5 households and we've realized that most of them, they don't have any toilet facility. So what is it?
It is not the problem of the government. It is the problem of the landlords. Every house that you build, there is a building plan for the house. And every building plan, there's a toilet facility in the building plan. But when the building plan is approved and they are putting out the building, they put up the building with the toilet and later on turn the toilet into a room and rent it. That is what is happening.
Right now we are noticing that they have commercialized their washrooms, and I'm sure there are other households like this one. So in this case that we've seen this, what actions are you going to take?
As for the actions, so we've just given them a notice. That is just the beginning. We will start from there. Before we take you to court to take any necessary action, we give you a notice. When we can, we do not just see only one thing. You saw how that place is. It's like with small, they will tell us that this is a family house, so nobody is supposed to sweep there. We will come and sweep. Don't worry.
So any message for people who are also commercializing their washrooms, in fact, for tenants in particular?
We want landlords to know that they have the right to all things, but all things are no good for them. A landlord has no right to commercialize a house, a washroom or a bathroom that is in the house. It is not something, if you have built your own commercial bathroom, we don't have a problem to that. But if it is a bathroom that was constructed for the house and people have come to rent the house and they are using the bathroom and you are commercializing it, and then you don't even have a toilet again in addition to that. So where do you want the people? What are some of the benefits that the people are going to benefit from staying in your house? You don't have a washroom, you don't have a toilet, it's just only the room. Why? And this is 21st century. So we are telling landlords they do this from myth. They are exploiting, let me say, vulnerable people who have come to cities to find a living. It is very bad.
And Flores Kuchi, the Director of Public Health at the AMA. We have all of these facilities. Per the law, they should have toilet facilities. But like she said, I was stunned by that. A lot of them come with a plan, which shows that this is where the toilet facility is going to be. And then after they get their approval, some of them convert them into rooms. And then the rest of the people have to fend for themselves in this way. And you know what that means. Some people, it's distasteful to say, some of those along the seashore go and do things there that are inappropriate. Others will tie them up in certain places, drop them in it's such an inconvenience for all of us. And it hampers making Accra the cleaner city if we were ever going to be on that trajectory. But Florence Kuchi joins me in the studio. A very good morning, Florence.
Good morning.
It's been a while. How has it been, the Joy Clean Ghana campaign? Just give us a briefing. How have we fared and what has been the impact so far?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to say a very good morning to the environmental health fraternity throughout the whole country. Joy Clean Ghana has really brought great impact to Accra Metropolitan Assembly, not only Accra, but throughout the whole country, because we have received so many positive response from the people who watches Clean Ghana campaign. Let me say, in Accra alone, we have been able to get some public toilets that were very nasty. They have been closed down and they have been rebuilt, and they are, you can say, a model toilet in the assembly. Some restaurants were closed down, and now washroom and others that they did not have, now they have gotten them. There are some areas that people did not also take care of their frontages and their houses, but through Clean Ghana, people are now ensuring that they do the right thing. There were some things that some people didn't also know that what they were doing were wrong. But through Clean Ghana, they have learned a lot of things that have changed and they are doing the right thing. So I can say for sure that Clean Ghana has really gotten great impact and achievement. Yeah.
Now, this latest drive, even before we get to the bit about toilet facilities, that wasn't your aim to target toilet facilities, but you were doing other things and all of a sudden this popped up.
No, you know, environmental health as a unit, we have a lot of things that we do.
There's a lot under your umbrella.
Yeah, there's a lot under our umbrella. Working on household toilet facility is part of our activities. Food safety is part of our activities. Ensuring that public toilets are clean and hygiene. There are a lot of things we do.
I'm just saying that it wasn't what you set out to target, but all of a sudden it came in there. And,
during the Clean Ghana,
rightly, you veered into that as well.
Yeah, during the Clean Ghana campaign. You know, with Clean Ghana campaign, we have an itinerary that we follow. So with the itinerary, every month has what we are supposed to do. 2023, we started with the market sanitation, and we spent the whole of February in Aguloshe Market, ensuring that people keep the place clean. And this is from selling things on the drains and the public way. Now, let me just veer out a bit. We've seen that there's an outbreak of Lassa fever. Yeah. And we know that this thing is a zoonotic disease. It is caused by, let me say, excreta or urine of a mouse.
Bodily fluids.
Let me say a mouse. Either their excreta or their urine. But when a human being is going to transmit to the other human being, it's through body fluid. But most of our markets are being infested with rodents. In the market, what do? It was part of this that we spend much of our time at the Aguloshe Market to ensure that we have a clean and safe market to be safe from such occurrence. So this month, March, we are on household toilet facilities. That is what we have in our itinerary, and we started yesterday. So in AMA, our Sanitation Bylaw 2017, it talks about every household with a household toilet facility. Public toilet is not for people who are living within the community. But we have come to realize that people think public toilets are a yardstick, is their mandate, they need to have public toilet. People even come out to agitate and demonstrate for public toilet. And sometimes when I see it, I don't understand. How can you build a house, you are living in your house without a toilet? So building a house, there must be a toilet, there must be a kitchen. You build a house, you make provision for kitchen, but you don't make provision for toilet. But you know definitely when you eat, the end product is you have to go there. And people are not seeing it important to do it. So in 2015, we saw that Ghana had an award from World Bank to help as a built household toilet for vulnerable, or let me say peri-urban communities, so that people can have these toilet facilities. And the target that the project brought, the target was about 900,000. But at the end of
900,000 what?
900,000 household toilet facilities.
Right.
But at the end of, or let me say 19,000. But at the end of 2021, we saw that Gamma was able to even exceed the target.
Exceed the 19,000?
Yes, please. Gamma built about 28,541 household toilets in the greater Accra metropolis area. And that is good. But some people were failing to even go by this. The Gamma toilet facility is a halfway, we meet ourselves halfway. Government pays half, you pay half. There's a reason for that. Government could have given the toilet to household for free. But you know, when you don't own something, you don't take good care of it. That is why the household also need to pay some part of it. By doing that, by that contribution, it shows that they own the toilet facility in the house. So they would make very good use of the toilet. And it was not just any toilet. Now we are in the modern world, 21st century. This is not the time for you to go and start digging a septic tank and all that. The Gamma came out with the biodigesters, where you just need a small space to get your toilet facility and a soak away pit. When the enzymes eat the excreta in the digester, then the liquid that is left will be channeled into the septic, the soak away pit. But a lot of people are refusing to even grab this chance.
So there's been resistance, that's what you're saying?
Sure, there has been resistance. Let me say in Accra...
Is the resistance, though, even before you go forward, is the resistance based on a lack of education?
I don't think the resistance is based on lack of education. The resistance is based on adamant.
People are adamant.
People are adamant.
There must be reasons for them to be adamant. Especially when this is meant to help you.
Yes, I'm coming to the adamancy. You go to a place, you ask a person that you need to get a toilet. The person will tell this place is a family house. Is in quote, does it mean that a family house at a time you don't need a toilet? Some will even tell you we don't have a space for a toilet. When you tell them you have about 3 washrooms, why don't you convert one into a toilet facility? Or better still, you can even convert a room into a toilet facility for the whole house. Let me say now you visit public toilet, you pay 1 cedi. You go to a house, there are about 10 rooms in the house. You have not less than 5 people in the household in the house. A day, if you have 6 people in your household and everybody is spending 1 cedi, it's 6 cedis. Some people even go more than 2-3 times a day. Then you multiply by the number of rooms in the house and the household. Look at a day, the amount you are spending. So when you are able to even condemn 1 room for a toilet facility, at the end of the year, the money that you would have used to go and pay at the public toilet facility, you will use it for something. Let's say you do not have a toilet in your house. Then in the night, let me say midnight, you are pressed. A woman is out there going to public toilet. You can be raped in the presence, in the process. You can even, a man cry, people can even meet you. If you hold a mobile phone, it can be taken from you. You may even be bitten by a snake. All these things are risk. Ladies are prone to some infections that they pick from some of these public toilets. So these are some of the things we want, and we are helping people living to get household toilets in their homes instead of visiting the public toilet as their own.
Let me ask you, what is the deficit? What does the deficit look like in terms of these households without toilet facilities? In recent times, you've been to Aveno, and we know, in fact, they've had a double situation because there was a fire outbreak there recently that also, took out over 400 or so these wooden structures and metal kiosks. But what is the deficit?
So let me say, I can say in Accra Metropolitan Assembly, we still have about 23% of households that do not have toilet facilities.
23%?
Yes, please. 23% of households in Accra. And that is around the old...
Is that not a conservative figure? Because from from the readings I have made, it appears it would be higher than that.
That is why I said Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
Okay.
I am just bringing it down to Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and there are some reasons that I am bringing that figure. In 2029, we had about 23% of households that has toilet facility. Then from 2020, we were able to shoot it up to 64%. Then in 2021, we were able to shoot it even more higher to 89%. Then 2022, it reduces again to 77%. So you can just imagine the deficit that we are having through. People get the toilet facilities when it is not, let me say, if it is not a digester toilet that needs just a small room. They build the toilet, you go to the house, you see that this person has a toilet. The next time you get there, the toilet facility is being converted into a room and it's being rented out.
But that would border on a breach of the law, which feeds into this next issue, this question. It feeds into what you're saying. Seth Owusukumi says, please, Mr. Akakpo, ask your guest whether all the houses that she visits were really approved by officials of the AMA. If so, then we have a huge problem with the AMA itself. So if they are engaging in these breaches, what then are the consequences? And do they get approval from you on the back of this show? And if they do this, what are the sanctions? I'm sure if the measures were pretty punitive, people would stop doing that.
Yes, thank you so much. They get the approval from the assembly. But as I said, they built, you go to inspect, the toilet is there. You know, you cannot be at the same place at the same time. You get to this place, you register, there is a household toilet facility. The next time you get to the same place, the toilet facility is not there. Why is it that we were increasing from 2019, then when we go to 2022, toilet facilities have increased again from 89% to 77%. It means there's something. And
you mean decrease?
That is it. Has decreased from 89% to 77%. And we are enforcing the law. When I took over office, every week we have 20 electoral areas in Accra Metropolitan Assembly. So every week, one of the secrets that we're able to shot up to the 89% in 2021. From 2019, we brought in an action that every week, 5 households from each electoral area that do not have toilet facility must be sent to court. And we were really doing it, and we got the results. But one of the problems is because nowadays the sanitation costs are not enough in the system, you send a case to court, it will run through for a long time. If every assembly has a sanitation court, or every 2-3 assemblies that has boundaries have sanitation court, some of these issues will reduce. But you can have about, let me say, you can serve about 20 summons. But these 20 summons can run through about 4 to 5, 6 months. And the officer and the people who are even going to court becomes tired. It is not, we don't also have the necessary logistics to even keep on doing all these things. So these are some of the things.
We've spoken about your logistical constraints in the past. Has there been any improvement in those? Not one that I have seen. That's quite a statement to make. That's quite an indictment on the system. So since the last time we spoke, and it's been many months, this was sometime last year.
That was sometime last year.
When we had an interaction. We're already, in the first quarter of this year, 3 months or so, 2 months plus into the first quarter of this year. And you're telling me that the logistical constraints and all those things we sat here and spoke about, which we were hoping. I remember you made an impassioned plea to the powers that be to come to your aid. You're telling me nothing has changed?
The only thing I can talk about is it's a project that gave in, sanitation tools that we are going to use to work. But it is not like the type of logistics that we ask for, transport and all other things that will push us to go around to do the monitoring as it's supposed to be. And even those logistics that we got, it was not for all assemblies. It was just the assemblies that were lucky to benefit from the project that gave out those working tools.
let me ask you then, how are you able to do your work? I remember the last time you came here, and it's interesting because it's almost re-echoing in my... You said that sometimes just to ensure that a case is pursued and that maybe someone who has to be sanctioned by the law courts actually goes through the process, sometimes you have to use your own money.
Sure.
Not just you, but other members of the team. Are you still doing
We are still doing it throughout the country. Environmental officers are using our own resources to ensure that we see environment sanitation cases go out and then people will change. Let me tell you, we are even in charge of taking paupers in the system. Every paupers, people who died like mad people or people who died without identification of relatives. It is our duty to ensure that those people are being carried away, maybe to bury or send them to a mortuary, then at the end mass burial will take place. But ask me, what are some of the things we need to carry? You need a body bag. You need a lot of, let me say, you need chemicals and other things. You need PPEs. Every pauper is a highly infectious body because we don't know what has led to the person's death. Officers go there, we don't even have some of these PPEs to even wear. Not even body bag. There are times we even have to use coverall to carry pauper.
Wow. Which institutions, which agencies do we petition on this matter? Since we've started talking about it, I think it's something we should take up. Which institutions should be, providing you with? Is it local government?
That is the issue. That is one of the things that we don't always know where to say we are going or where we are. The issue is, we know that we are under local government ministry, and now we are with the local government service, local government service. But the issue is, when you have somebody at the national level who can talk for you, the accounts will say that, but when you don't have anybody at the national level, you go to the local government service, a local government ministry, there's not even a desk there for environmental health unit, so that they can also be part of any departmental meeting that is going on, and they will put on the issues that are pertaining to the environmental health sector. You go to the local government service, there is not even a desk there. There is nobody there to represent the environmental health officers there to talk about them. Let's get to the district assembly. We have agric officers. We have works. We have a lot of people that have brought under the local government service at the assembly to work. But when you trace all of them, you trace and you go to meet their director, national director, at one of the ministries. It's only the environmental health that when you trace us and you get to the regional, that's the end. Because in 2017, before 2017, we used to have our national directorate with the local government ministry, where they were taking care of us. In case we have some of these things, they will be able to talk for us. But when the Ministry of Sanitation was created, that directorate was moved to the Ministry of Sanitation. Now, there's no, and then when you go to Ministry of Sanitation, so our head is at the Ministry of Sanitation, and the body is remain with the Ministry of Local Government. So the head is somewhere, the body is somewhere. How can they bring things together for things to work? So mostly we don't know which ministry to petition. That is what I keep saying. There is a structural anomaly.
Streamlining that must be done. And with this structural misalignment, it means you're going to continue suffering because you don't know where you fall, you don't know. And I find that very awkward.
Yes, and very awkward. And when it is like that, you don't have a national budget. Every budget that you have is just from IGF at the assembly. And because the work the environmental health officers does, our work is not physical project. We do non-physical programs. So when you are somebody who is into non-physical programs, things you do that people don't see it physically, though the impacts are out there. But if it is not the priority of wherever you found yourself, these are some of the things you definitely need to face. But if we have somebody at the national level who will also take our issue and maybe prepare a national budget that will cover the whole of environmental health officers in the country, then it will trickle down. When have you ever heard that we are giving this vehicle to environmental health unit? They have been sharing logistics, vehicles, uniform. It's the environmental officer who is the law enforcer of public health. And every law enforcer goes with a uniform. Nobody have ever, who even think of buying a uniform for an environmental officer. You write memos and then the memos are missing. But if you have a national head, the national head can budget and plan uniforms for this number of environmental officers in the country. When the uniforms are ready, they will share them to the regions and everybody will get their uniform. When you are going to enforce the law and you are not in uniform, it is not, you cannot do it as it's supposed to do. Let me say you are going to effect a bench warrant arrest. You are a law enforcer. You are not in uniform. You must go with the, you see, whenever we are going, we move with the police officers. Right. Because people are afraid of uniform. But when you are not in uniform, nobody cares.
So tell me, what then is the next move in terms of getting some grounding so that funding can also flow through? You've tried this. What are the radical approaches that maybe we must bring to bear? So, because else we'll keep talking about this time and again. You will keep coming here and it will be the same.
We have written some letters to some ministries that we feel that is where.
Like which ones?
We've sent some letters to Ministry of Local Government, to the minister, and put attentioning him to look at the structural anomalies that has been created. And to
what has been the response?
We are yet to have a response from them.
When did you write to the local government?
Last year, somewhere July last year.
You mean you wrote to the local government minister?
Yes, we sent
last year, June.
Yes, we sent a petition to Ministry of Local Government, and we were called by the chief director. We went. She asked us to go and re-put some things on it and then forward it to her. She was going to have a meeting with people that matter. So we are yet to hear from.
Did you do that?
Yes, we did. And
the information?
Yes, we did it, and we forwarded it to her, to the chief director at the local government ministry. We are yet to hear the outcome of those meetings that she said she was going to.
Was that also done in June?
It was also, no, it was, that one, it was around August.
August?
Yes, please.
So by August, whatever additional information they needed, you had submitted?
Yes, please.
So let's look at it. September, October, November, December, January, February. At least 6 months have passed. No response.
So we are even just pleading that they should even not, if they will not give us just a desk at the local government ministry, a desk at the local government service, so that information can be trickled.
So what is the next step when it comes to these toilet facilities? Already, I see that it's quite a struggle even to get you to be able to do the work you're doing. So congratulations on the fact that you persist anyway. And we thank you, we commend you for the good job you're doing with the Joy Clean Ghana campaign. But what is the next step? These houses without toilet facilities, what is the next step to ensure compliance?
So as I said, we have started. So now what we did in 2019-2020, we are reviving it again. So every week, every electoral area in Accra Metropolitan Assembly, houses that have no toilet facilities, the landlords will be sent to court. And when they are sent to court, the court mostly give them about 3 months to construct the toilet. And if they don't construct, the next form of action is being given again by the court. So that is
given what?
Is being added to the landlord. Okay. So, and mostly when they give them...
Are there fines as part
There are fines, but mostly because, you know, constructing a toilet goes with money.
Let me just say this, lest I forget. Just this morning, I was interacting with someone who spoke, I think it was Kojopuku, the energy analyst, who was saying that, look, part of our sanitation woes, you know, has to do with the fact that we're not being punitive enough. You remember Lampo?
Yes.
I was told about Lampo, but we all know about the town council system, what we used to call tankase.
Yeah.
And how, if you were caught, whether it was rubbish or some of these other, you know, infractions, you would have to pay a fine, sometimes on the spot. And the whip was cracked and people fell in line. Should we do that? Do we have to get there again?
It's still there. It's still there.
When I say we have to get there again, it's there, but we don't see it, do we?
You see, now we are in the digital system. And always, I keep saying that we used to live in open communities. So whatever was going on, somebody will see and go and tell somebody. But now we are in closed communities. Work have come to, a lot of people are engaged. They are not even around. So when you even go out and you take action against somebody, if the person doesn't go to say this action has been taken against me, nobody will know. Just 2022 alone, AMA, we were able to successfully prosecute about 477 sanitation offenders. And about 20, or let me, if I'm not mistaken, were sentenced to some 3 months imprisonment. And some have gone and they've come. And they are doing the right thing. But the issue is when you go and you come and you don't tell somebody, nobody will know. And if you don't also publicize the things we are doing now, nobody will know. So that is why we are calling on all media entities to collaborate with the environmental officers at the various district assemblies, so that some of the works that we are doing will come out. If we were not to be doing this Clean Ghana campaign with Joy, the multimedia, maybe some of these issues that we are spelling out, people will not have seen or will not have heard. But it is through this medium that people are getting to know that this thing is happening, this thing is going on. And I can tell you, as we are sitting here, there are more than 110 environmental officers out there enforcing sanitation laws, causing people to go to court and all that. Yeah.
I know the scope of the AMA has been curtailed. You are not as big as you used to be.
Sure.
In many respects. But before we take your concluding comments and the way forward, this thought just came to mind. You would often see that in some places, sometimes residential areas, you would see cattle and other, animals that are crossing the road, creating traffic. I know per the law, you shouldn't rear in certain urban areas. In fact, residential areas. Does that fall under your purview? And because we keep seeing them, what is happening in that regard? Is that something you're going to target as well?
Yeah, it's part of our itinerary too. It falls under our purview, but you see, it all still bounds back to the resources that I spoke about earlier on. When you want to carry out stray animal arrest, you will need a vehicle to be able to arrest the animals and put them in those vehicles. You don't have the means. How do you carry out the stray animal arrest? Even not just talking about crossing the road. Have we thought about the national tree planting that we are undertaking every year? How many trees that these stray animals eat and destroy the seedlings that do not grow up? All these things we need to sit down and plan and put all these in place. If the environmental health officer is resourced, a lot of things are going to be cut short in the country, and some monies that we keep pumping into areas, we will use it for other developmental issues. So we are just pleading with the policymakers, our employers. They should know that our work is necessary. That is why we are there. So they should resource us for us to work. We are yearning to work. We are yearning to make the city clean. But we need to be pushed for the city to be clean. If we are not pushed, how can we make the city to be clean? They should see us as all other service providers. Just as they are giving all other service providers the needed logistics for them to work, for them to get the results, they should also give us that same logistics and see if we do not produce the results. Then they will say, yes, they have done their bit, but we are not pulling our waste.
Final words?
My final words...
Especially for those who may be engaging in some of these activities, households without toilets and all of that, what would be your advice or your caution to them?
So my advice to landlords that are building houses without toilet facility is that everybody should try and get a toilet in their houses. We know that toilet is dignity. If you have toilet, you are dignified. You go to sit there and you feel good. You go to the public toilet. Some public toilets are even there. You can't even go in there with your clothes on. You have to remove them now. What happened to a woman who is visiting such a public toilet? So it is a mandate for every landlord to have a toilet facility. So they should do that. Because if you have toilet facility, we will eradicate open defecation. When we eradicate open defecation, communicable diseases such as diarrhea, typhoid, dysentery, and other diseases that, excreta-related diseases will be the thing of the past.
Cholera and others.
Sure.
Right. Thank you so much, Florence, for having joined us. And again, we salute you and we wish you the very best in all your endeavors. Florence Kuchi is Director of Public Health at the AMA. Next, we go to the Tema motorway. Michael Ashali, my colleague, has been checking on how some trucks are parked around the toll booths and are endangering the lives of other road users. That is up next on the AM show.
Heavy-duty trucks line up the shoulders of the highway, running as far as the eye can see. According to some of the drivers, they have no option than to park here while they wait for documentation for their cargo. Akwesi Techi is one of such drivers.
In the port, if you load, there is no place for you to park again. There is no parking place from Tema to this place, and even from this place to Achimota or something, there is no parking place. The place where we can find a comfortable place to park. And our people too haven't ready yet. So unless you find some place to park so that when your people come, then you go. But apart from this place, there is no place for us to park again. That's why we are always parking here.
Their presence here only exposes many motorists to untold danger, and some of the truck drivers even agree.
We know that we are disturbing, but we don't have any option.
While waiting for their documents, some drivers inspect their vehicles and others simply use the time to rest. Some of the drivers explain that some agents at the Tema Harbour offload their cargoes onto their trucks to avoid paying demurrage at the port. While parked there, some drivers say they are harassed by some city authorities. Al-Hassan Tahiru is a victim.
Just yesterday, they come. I wasn't inside the car. They just came and opened my gate and they took my key.
For what exactly?
They said we should yes, we have no option to park here, so we're supposed to live here. We're supposed to park our cars and go. And when they came to my car, I wasn't there. They just opened the gate. They took the key. I don't know where they have sent with the key.
More drivers report same. They say it only prolongs their illegal stay at the site.
Yesterday, I was there. When I started the car to move, he said I shouldn't move the car. He off it and removed the key. And said, I don't know where he sent the key. Yesterday he came there and said that he's going to lock the car. And I said no. Then let me move the car. He said no, I shouldn't move the car. And off it. When I started, he himself climbed and off it and remove the key and go. Why? And we don't know where he sent the key. So if we are even ready to go, we can't go. So if my car caused accident now, it's you who rather cause the accident, not me.
I'm there and the police people came. They came and told me that I should move the car away. I'm even ready to spark it, and they said no. They have arrested me, so I have to pay before I go. And I say, oh, I have nothing. I've been here because of money. I have nothing here, that's all. So they should just give me a little time. If I get to the edge, if anything, I'll confirm. And they took my license and my car key. They went with it. I don't even know where they are now. I don't even know.
So what are you going to do now?
So right now I'm just waiting for them. If they come, alhamdulillah, I will find a way that I will do and get my key. But the money that they say I should pay, I bet if I give them money, I'm not going to pay.
And the true matter is that the whole Tema, first Tema was sweet, but now Tema is not good again. When you park at Tema, anywhere you park, Tema Gapua, let me say, Habwan Gapua, they will come and lock your car.
But not everyone agrees with the drivers.
The parking place is small. But from there to the Bognaza there, if they're not parked there, it's good because that place is causing big accidents.
He only gave his name as Nathaniel. He observed that the number of accidents around the toll booths have increased since the trucks started parking there. He says the drivers must be forced to evacuate the shoulders of the road.
To take over this situation for toll booths here. People was die here is plenty people. Because of this parking of the drivers, then parking for the toll booth. So if we give him there some place, let's give him another place to go and park. Because last year, almost about, since the time they blocked toll up to December of last year, almost about 90 people was dying here.
Nathaniel says the local authorities are yet to respond to his many appeals.
Why? Come and see baller for the back here. So many baller. I went to Ashama Municipality, AMC or CPP or say, oh, why? There. You throw me away to tell me that I should go police.
But the drivers insist if they had an alternative, they would have moved.
We are not here for fun. We are just not here for fun. If we have some place to park, we will not even park here. Say that they should talk to the Gapo people. Okay. The time that they will release us at the Harbour place, they have to make sure that they give our papers, our advance. If I get my money and my papers, there is no need for me to come and park here again.
So all of what we need is before they can access not to park here, government have to find a place for us so that even, I don't know, other Tema or this place, they should find a place for us. When we park, we finish, we'll go and park there. And we will not find difficult to pay the money that they will be correcting that.
While local authorities take their time to react to this growing concern, the menace continues to fester.
Tema Gapua, let me say, Habon Gapua, they will come and lock your car. That you shouldn't park at the roadside. That's the only place you can park. And after there, unless here, if you move from here to there's no place you will park again. Okay. You are going to Kumasi straight. But when we know that's finished, they wouldn't give us the money. All right, you have to wait for some time. When your money comes, then you continue. Okay. And there's no place for us to wait unless here.
So who has to give you the money? The one who contracted you to transport the goods? Yes. Or is Gapo supposed to give you some money?
Gapo has nothing to do with our money. Okay. The agents, okay, who call you to come and load, he will give you the money. Okay. Yeah. So the money is not ready yet. And there is no place for us to park unless we come and park here. And when we park here, we always leave the road for small. For me, I'm here for 3 days now. The money is not ready yet. I have to do some maintenance. I have to buy my fuel. But there's no money. I can't go anywhere. Okay.
So how long are you going to be here?
I don't even know. I can't best tell. I don't even know.
Let me talk to some more drivers. Which driver is going outside the country and is still here? Which of the drivers is going? All of you are going outside the country?
You see, every car that are parking here, more of them are going to transit.
Even all of them.
All of them. So we are even today, the cars that are here are not even plenty. We are more than this. The people that they have advanced has come, they have gone. Yesterday they left, and this morning some have left.
Okay. I come to you for a solution if nobody else will talk to me. There are conversations that you are trying to evade the Axel weighing bridge up ahead. So you rather park here and then you wait, try and sort things out before you move. I mean, is there any truth to that?
Please, it's not true. Even if you lack, you can let us go. And even if they can find us a place to park the car, one of you can enter my car to go so that we check. Because even my tonnage is 50-something tons, and I'm supposed to take 80-something tons. So it is not overload, but just that we are waiting for our documents. Even after talking with you, I will go to the Tema for the distance. Okay. So all of what we need is before they can access not to park here, government have to find a place for us so that even, I don't know, other Tema or this place, they should find a place for us. When we park, we finish, we'll go and park there. And we will not find difficult to pay the money that they will be correcting us. Just that we want peace of mind, the place where we can comfortably park so that whenever we are ready, we go.
Before you start talking about solution, but before solution, I hear, at least from what my off-air conversation with you, is that some people take advantage of this and harass some of you. You mentioned the likes of the police and Gapoa security and all that. I mean, tell me about that experience, being harassed by authorities.
That's why some of the things I don't understand. And because of that, even like when you park your car, they will say the place where you are parked can cause accident. And they can lock that car more than 4 days without removing the lock. And nothing will happen over there. But what about like you leave the person to be, maybe the person is going to buy something to come and go, but just because of the person parked, you lock the car. And after locking the car will be spent more than 1 week or 4 days over there, and nothing will be happening to the car. It means you are just harassing the passengers. It was not because of the accident that you locked the car. If it is accident, like you would have been removed the car from that place.
Who else has a story of being harassed? You? Get closer to me. So tell me about your story. How did it happen?
Yesterday I came and parked around 3, they're about to 4. I'm there and the police people came. They came and told me that I should move the car away. I'm even ready to spark a drag and they said no. They have arrested me, so I have to pay before I go. And I said, oh, I have nothing. I've been here because of money. I have nothing here, that's all. So they should just give me a little time. If I get to the edge, if anything, I'll confirm. And they took my license and my car key. They went with it. I don't even know where they are now. I don't even know.
So what are you going to do now?
So right now I'm just waiting for them. If they come, alhamdulillah, I will find a way that I will do and get my key. But the money that they say I should pay, I bet if I get the money, I'm not going to pay. Me, I'm the one who is going to watch my mother or my father. They have nothing to do unless me. So the little one that I will get, I will not use it to do nothing. The thing that I don't know what to do.
My name is Nat. I'm in the overseer of this Tema booth in front here. Ghanaians, my English no good, so if I talk you no good, nobody for verse. Because the way I know I for speak, I want President Akufo-Addo and my brother IGP to take over this situation for toll booth here. People was that here is plenty people because of this parking of the drivers. Then parking for the toll booth. So if we give him there some place, let's give him another place to go and park. Because last year, almost about, since the time them blocked toll up to December of last year, almost about 90 people was dying here. Why? Come and see Bola for the back here. So many Bola. I went to Ashama Municipality, AMC or CPP or say, oh, why? There. You throw me away to tell me that I should go police. One side I no go, I got regional commander there. The new regional commander, MTU commander, I see that you are pushing something to make forth from here. Who? I'm swimming here and pay Bola money. Go and see the Bola and salt and oil. Look at here. The whole Ghana.
The concern of the drivers is that they have nowhere else to park.
Don't mind them. Wait. You see, what they call it, I said, the reason why I'm telling that, don't mind them, that. The reason why I'm talking that, don't mind them, because from the Bognaza here, you see the place the tie is here. Bro, you see the place the tie is here. From there going, then come park. Because of the parking place is small. But from there to the Bognaza there, if they not park there, it's good because that place is causing big accidents.
So now let's talk solution. Let's start with Mr. Techi. Mr. Techi, so you've already started. You are asking for a place to park. Where can we start from looking at a place that we can park? What specification are we looking at?
We have no option than to find us a place, even from Tema. Even maybe to Achimota, any place of them that they can find for us, we can. But just that they should see the condition of the car. There is not any place that this car can enter to go, because of the load. So if they can find us the place, they should find us a better place where we can comfortably enter and we come out as the same as they do to. As a weight this thing, they have to do some place for us like that.
What can we do, especially you that you have been harassed? What can we do to stop some of these and make it easier for you to move?
The only thing I can say that they should talk to the Gapo people. Okay. The time that they will release us at the Habu place, they have to make sure that they give our papers, our advance. If I get my money and my papers, there is no need for me to come and park here again. Okay. If I just leave now, I will just go into. So that's the only thing I can say.
Wonderful. So your key has been taken. What can we do about it now?
Right now, you know, you're supposed to help us and talk to the policemen and the security men. Maybe you have come and see, maybe yesterday if I was to go, you have harassed me. You have let me. You have even break me because yesterday I was about to go and you took my key. You didn't show me where you are taking the key to, and I don't know where you are going to. So if you get patient and look for me or wait small, and if I come and you say, oh, move your car, we don't need anybody to park here. So move your car and go. You see, that one will be better. Right now, you have took my key and tell me that the place that I'm parking is no good. You have gone with the key. And if accident happen right now, it's me or it's you that taking my key.
But yesterday, I was there. When I started the car to move, he said that I shouldn't move the car. He off it and removed the key. And said, I don't know where he's saying the key. Yesterday, he came there and said that he's going to lock the car. And I said, no. Then let me move the car. He said, no, I shouldn't move the car. And off it. When I started, he himself climbed and off it and remove the key and go. Why? And we don't know where he's saying the key. So if we are even ready to go, we can't go. So if my car cause accident now, it's you who rather cause the accident, not me. Because when I was going to move, you should let me move. No, not that you remove the key and go. It is not good.
So it's a tough place to be, hearing their stories. But these are drivers who, own some of the long and heavy-duty trucks that you see parked along the Tema motorway, very close to the toll booths. They tell me that this is the only option they have. And if there's an option to park very close to the harbor whilst they wait for some of their documentation to be ready, and again, whilst their agents find money for them to complete some of their processes, it won't help. They're only appealing to government for two major things: to fast-track that process, give them a place to also park and wait safely without endangering other drivers. And finally, also, they want government to talk to some of these agents that they have named themselves that are harassing them to stop. It's a long journey. It's a conversation that must be had. It must start from somewhere. For JoyNews, Michael Ashali.
And we're back from Aketechi in the western region. Hopefully you enjoyed that. A bit sad, though, at the end, what happened to the chicken. But I guess it's the order of things, isn't it? Even among human beings, we see this happen in different ways. But we're back, and we'd love to hear from you. Today we've been talking about the minorities, positioning on the Ghana card being used as the sole requirement to register onto the electoral roll for that continuous registration. We've taken a look at the Tema motorway and the menace of these huge trucks parked alongside the toll booths and the dangers they're posing. And we've also been taking a look at Ghana in all its beauty. You see us reflecting it. Ghana Month. What are your thoughts for us this morning? 0302-211-691. The number is rolling at the bottom of your screen. Give us a call. We have our first caller. Ankobra is with us. I'm curious, Ankobra, you've been calling into the show. How did you get to Ankobra? Is it your real name or is it an alias?
Oh, it's not my real name. It's not my real name. So
how did you get the name Ankobra?
When I was in school, my colleagues gave it, and I have accepted it, and I have adopted it.
So they gave you the nickname and you embraced it. I see.
Yeah.
All right. What are your thoughts for us this morning?
Okay, I love my brother, and it's Ghana man. Ghana man. You see?
Thank you.
In the morning, I was listening to you when you were talking to Kojopoku.
Right.
Yeah, I respect him so much. But I think this morning he said something that I think he has been very insensitive. And he shouldn't carry on with that. What did he say? He was saying that if people had to commute from their homes, the district offices, for them to register for the NIA card, they have to do it. And
I didn't get that point. Please repeat it. You say if
I
what?
said, yeah, he said that even if people have to commute from their homes or their places to the district offices to do the NIA card, they have to do it. And stop these things, blah, 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 blah. And he even cited that people were commuting from several years to Takra to do a lot of. You see, does he understand the kind of country that he wants to lead or govern? You see, those people that you are saying commute from their places to those places, have you considered the conditions that some of them passed through? The last time that you did the school matter, did you watch it? In this country here, we still have people, small people, young ones, 2 years, 3 years, who sit on the floor to learn. They just need 2 million Ghana cedis to solve this problem. The government has the money, but the government is not pushing the money there. Misplaced priority song. So I think he shouldn't do that. You see, when he begins to speak, then he doesn't understand the country that they are in and the country that is to govern. If those people, if it is easier for them to do that, they will not sit there. But because of the conditions that some have to pass, I will say big question. So some even cross bridges and river body, if he doesn't know. So the issue is a very sensitive issue. The right vote is enshrined in the Constitution. And the EC must not be seen to be doing something that would disenfranchise people. Number two, he also said that in Ghana here, criminal cases take a longer years. How does it take 6 years? They are more in because I listen to him. Does he understand the difference between criminal case and civil case? Criminal is different from civil case. You see, in criminal case, you want to curtail the freedom of the suspect or the accused person. Has he gone to prison before? So if you don't prove beyond reasonable doubt,
right?
How can you tell me it takes 6 years?
All right,
my brother. So he shouldn't go there. The moment he begins to say some of these things, some of us who respect him so much or think that he's trying to be insensitive, you should understand the country that we are in.
All right. Thank you, Ankobra, for your thoughts. Let's offer the opportunity to other people as well to share theirs by calling that number 0302-211-691. What do you have to share about the subjects we've been discussing this morning on the show? And it's Ghana Month. I would also love it if in the course of this month, some of you would call and tell us about those beautiful places in your community that, you know, we ought to be throwing the spotlight on. We have Abendao joining the conversation from Kumasi. Hello, Abendao.
Yeah, good morning, Akakpo.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, well, and you?
I'm okay.
And where are our ladies, Bernice and Mapito?
Bernice is on a leave. Mapito is also taking a bit of a rest, but you'll see them soon on the AM show.
Yeah, but without any information, they will come back and meet us.
Don't worry. I have given you all the information you need.
I hear about that. Ankobra is trying to take my first position.
Well, it appears for some time now he's been calling first, so yes, you might have to do some work in that regard.
Yeah. Anyway, I've just given him some chance to also enjoy the first position. Yeah, for some time. Since I have enjoyed it for a long time, so he should also enjoy it for a while.
Right. What are your thoughts for us?
Yeah, you see that elections matters are very key in terms of country's peace and development. And as the minority is raising some issues about the registration process of this thing, I think that the issue should allow some distance, other materials such as the birth certificate and the rest, which are logic to be used in the registration. If not, most people still don't have the Ghana card, and even registering for the Ghana card is not something easy. Even others have registered for the Ghana card too, but their cards have gotten missing, and even how to get a replaced one is not easy. So I think that they should have a look at it and then show some human face more. If not, some people will be disgruntled, which is not their own making. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for calling and sharing your thoughts, Abendao. We still have about a minute or two to sneak in your calls. If you are minded to pick up your phone and call. Do remember, if you choose to call, don't listen to me on your television set or whatever set you're listening to me on. Just use your phone, listen to me there, and let's have a conversation. I want at least one person to call who would be telling me about that wonderful place in their community. Since today is Ghana, well, the month is Ghana month. We have Fred in Osu. Hello, Fred.
Yeah, hello, my brother.
Good morning. How are you doing, Fred? And what are your thoughts for us?
I'm good. I just want to find out something. Know something. If the finance minister said he wants to give money, he should not give the money to them to do the Ghana card. So we can see that, look, we have money to the national card to do it. Then we can look. We can use the Ghana card to vote. Because we shouldn't trust the finance minister. I personally don't trust the finance minister. You say you have the money. You want to release the money to them. You should give the money to them so that we know that now I have money. Do it and let's see. That's my problem. Now it's becoming like a showroom. They'll talk, they can perform.
Thank you, Fred, for calling and sharing your thoughts. The finance minister has said that he'll make the funds available, but it remains to be seen whether that will be done, whether that promise will be fulfilled. 0302-211-691 is the number to call. 0302-211-691 is the number to call. I think we can take one last caller. Augustine is calling. Where are you calling from? Is it Elembele?
I'm speaking from Elembele, Tema.
Right. What are your thoughts for us, Augustine? You are our final caller.
I'm speaking from Tema, Elembele. Yeah, my thought is concerned about the health. Yeah, concerning the health. When you spoke with Madam Kuchi.
Right, go ahead.
Before 2017, we have some entity called soil cleaning at the seaside. Since then, after 2017, those soil is no more working. As you can see on our beach side, now it's making like nobody controls the place. It's dirty. So I'm appealing to the assemblies and the government. They should bring those soil back to the seaside. Because here we have a nice environment. When you go to other places, either Hafasni or to Azin, now it's not, I mean, when you get to the seaside, it's boring. It's very boring. So we encourage the health system or the cleaning to come on board again. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. And that is how we cap off the show from tomorrow. So I'm going to put this out there. I'm advertising it. Listen, you can call us. I don't know whether some of you can shoot videos. I've not discussed this with my crew, but it would be good to know as we celebrate Ghana Month, where are you? What are the unique spots in your community? You could also tell us a bit. You could call in and share those tidbits with us about where you find yourself from up north to down south and what makes your community stand out as we celebrate Ghana this month. It would be wonderful to get. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. It's been great serving you this Thursday morning. Tomorrow is a special day, very special day. Maybe I'll be telling you a bit about that when the day arrives. But on that note, Ghana 4, do have the best of this Thursday. Up next, Joy News Desk. You want to stay for that.